First Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It's 3 o'clock, I'm Nana Akua. And for the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next few hours, GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and businessman and commentator Jeff Banks. Coming up in my niggle.
Yeah, nice to meet you all. Yeah, woo! Yeah. Well, I mean, the far right aren't supposed to like black people, but these people seem amazing.
Yes, was London really taken over by the far right yesterday? I mean, I went down there and had a look for myself. You won't want to miss how I see our politicians are totally out of touch. And Wes Streeting ups the ante and calls Brexit a catastrophic mistake as he positions himself for a potential leadership contest and looks to distance himself from Andy Burnham. I'll be bringing you the latest developments on that. And in the interview, I'll be speaking to Timothy Cho, who escaped North Korea and is now rebuilding his life in the UK. He has an extraordinary story and you won't want to miss it. Then later in the Great British Debate with Wes Streeting and Andy Burnham seeking to scrap Brexit and rejoin the EU if they become Prime Minister, I'll be asking, are we actually better off sticking with Sir Keir Starmer? My poll is live on gbnews.com. I never thought I'd be saying that. I'll be asking that very question. Please cast your vote. But before we get started, your latest news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you, Nana. Good afternoon to you. 3:03. Our top stories. The Culture Secretary says it will be a personal decision for the Prime Minister over whether he takes part in a possible Labour leadership contest. Lisa Nandy described the speculation as froth and nonsense and also rebuked Wes Streeting, her former cabinet colleague, for seeking to reopen the debate over Brexit in his pitch to oust Sir Keir Starmer. Well, Andy Burnham was probed yesterday about his support for returning to the EU as he seeks to stand in a Brexit voting parliamentary constituency, that's Makerfield. Ms Nandy says winning the by-election will be tough and told Camilla Tominey a debate about the EU is not what the country wants.
Watched what Wes had to say quite carefully yesterday, and he's a friend of mine and deserves to be taken seriously. But I think it is a bit odd to respond to the absolute roar of noise that we heard last Thursday. We got an absolute kicking at the polls and it hurt and it still hurts. And to respond to that with re-entering the European Union seems to me to be a fundamental misreading of what people are asking us for.
Police officers protecting the royal family at Windsor Castle are under investigation over allegations they slept while on duty. The Met's Professional Standards Department will assess whether any officers should be placed on restricted duties. In June last year, an intruder scaled a wall and managed to get into a restricted area before being arrested. It's understood the royal family have been informed about the investigation. A decision is expected before the end of next week. The Met Police says 43 people were arrested during 2 rival protests in London yesterday, including 11 hate crime-related offences. 20 people detained were linked to the Unite the Kingdom protest, while 12 were associated with a pro-Palestine Nakba Day march. A record 4,000 officers were deployed to deal with the gatherings at an estimated cost of £4.5 million. The Met says around 60,000 people attended yesterday's Unite the Kingdom demonstration. That's almost half of the estimated attendance from last year. The World Health Organization's declared a public health emergency over an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. There are around 246 suspected cases and 80 deaths reported so far, although the head of the WHO says there's significant uncertainty about the actual number of infected people. The virus is highly contagious. It spreads through bodily fluids and can be caught from infected animals. There are no approved drugs or vaccines to treat the current strain. It's thought to have a fatality rate of around 50%. Iran's announced plans to charge fees to travel through the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranian Parliament's National Security Committee leader Abraham Azizi announced the mechanism to control traffic through the key international shipping lane. He said it will be introduced soon. It comes after Donald Trump said both he and China's President Xi Jinping agreed Tehran must open the strait, although Beijing gave no indication of when it would step in. The US President met President Xi for 2 days of talks in the Chinese capital earlier this week. 4 people have been killed in Russia overnight after Ukraine unleashed its biggest attack on Moscow in more than a year. Russia's defense ministry says by midday, more than 1,000 Ukrainian drones had been shot down over the past 24 hours. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has vowed retribution for Russia's strikes on Kyiv on Friday. Now, police in Scotland are calling for urgent discussions after an officer was injured after Celtic fans celebrated their title victory yesterday. Bottles and missiles were thrown at police as thousands of Celtic fans celebrated the 5th successive Premiership title after beating Hearts 3-1 yesterday. They congregated in the centre of Glasgow. Police Scotland says they were met with unacceptable violence and hostility when they went into the crowd to try to assist with a medical emergency. The Church of Scotland's officially apologised for its historical support and involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. At a meeting of the General Assembly in Edinburgh, delegates from Scotland's largest religious domination were joined by ministers from Nigeria, Ghana and Jamaica. The Church of Scotland says they're sorry for having collectively and individually contributed to and benefited from the enslavement of people of African descent. Bulgaria were the big winners at the Eurovision Song Contest last night, with 27-year-old Dara taking first place with her dance anthem, Bangaranga. Bulgaria beat Israel by 173 points to be crowned the winner. The UK, well, significantly fewer points. A disastrous run continues. It got 1. Look Mum No Computer song Eins, Zwei, Drei took last place. 1 solitary point given from the Ukrainian jury. And the government's looking into a potential bid for the north of England to host the Olympic and Paralympic Games in the 2040. It's part of its ambition to drive regeneration in towns and cities through sport. Now, if successful, it would be, of course, the first Games staged in Britain since London 2012. And you're up to date with all of the news. Now, back to Nana.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It is fast approaching 8 minutes after 3 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. Right, coming up in this hour, the Labour civil war continues to ramp up as Wes Streeting puts pressure on Keir Starmer, calling Brexit a catastrophic mistake as he positions himself for a potential leadership contest. In the meantime, the Prime Minister has reportedly discussed an orderly timetable for his departure. I don't know whether I believe that. I'll get the latest from our very own political editor, Christopher Hope, who went on holiday on the busiest week in politics ever. Then in the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, are Streeting and Burnham betraying democracy? Labour leadership candidates pledged to scrap Brexit and take Britain back into the EU despite the British people voting out. Who do they think they are? So in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, are Streeting and Burnham betraying democracy? Then in the next Great British Debate of this hour, I'm asking, was there two-tier policing today at the marches yesterday? I'm going to try and rework that question. The police deployed facial recognition at the Unite the Kingdom rally, but not at the pro-Palestine rally happening at the same time. Why? That's the question. We'll deal with that. And later on, I'll be crossing live to Los Angeles for Worldview and speak to the host of the Politics People podcast, Paul Dudridge, to get the latest stateside. All of that is on the way, as ever. Send me your thoughts, post your comments at gbnews.com/your say. So to our top story, I mean, they just keep grabbing the headlines, but I think for all the wrong reasons. Not for stopping the boats, no. Wes Streeting has fired the starting gun on a potential Labour leadership contest, confirming that he will stand to replace Sir Keir Starmer.
We need a proper contest with the best candidates on the field, and I'll be standing.
Yes, the former House Secretary has put Europe back on the centre of Labour's agenda, calling Brexit a catastrophic mistake.
The biggest economic opportunity we have is on our doorstep. We need a new special relationship with the EU because Britain's future lies with Europe and one day, back in the European Union.
And he's not alone. Allies of Andy Burnham say that he also wants Britain to rejoin the EU, reopening Labour's Brexit divide as the battle for the party's future intensifies. Well, who cares what the people think? Fair enough. GBNews' political editor Christopher Hope joins us now. Well, Christopher, you're back off your holidays. And...
Well, what a time to be away.
Yes.
I mean, it was all kicking off here big time. I've never known a week like it, and to watch it from afar was extraordinary. And it looked like almost a mental breakdown for a Labour government. What is going on? Because once you're back, you see what the problem is, that you've got these two competing worlds at the moment. You've got the world where Keir Starmer is the Prime Minister. He's still in charge. He's in checkers, we think. Reportedly looking at whether he sets out a timetable to leave, which could end at the Labour conference in the autumn and a new leader is crowned. But why do that? Why do that when you haven't yet got clarity on who might replace you? And, of course, that goes back to this Makerfield by-election, which will take place on the 18th of June or the 25th of June. And why are those dates important? They're nearly 10 years to the day of the vote in 2016 to leave the European Union, because Brexit's back on the agenda. It was brought up by Wes Streeting yesterday, of course, and then Andy Burnham, in an interview last night, he made clear that he didn't want. He felt this by-election is about local issues, not about Brexit. He's saying that because the seat of Makerfield was 2/3 in favour of leaving the European Union. But here's what he said last night.
Are you in favour of rejoining the European Union?
I've said in the long term there is a case for that, but I'm not advocating that in this by-election. In fact, what I am saying is focus now domestically. Britain has got to focus very much on the here and now.
So I think Wes Streeting raising the issue of Brexit, which is all over the papers today, was trying to force out Andy Burnham to say that kind of thing, because he'll have to play to two audiences. The voters of Makerfield won't want him to talk about rejoining the European Union, but the membership, who are the next group of people he must convince to get the leadership of the party, they want him to rejoin. And that's where you first see the beginning of a potential a flip-flop over policy. Lisa Nandy, the Culture Secretary, she's the neighbouring MP for Wigan, she's perturbed about why Brexit is back on the agenda.
I watched what Wes had to say quite carefully yesterday, and he's a friend of mine and deserves to be taken seriously. But I think it is a bit odd to respond to the absolute roar of noise that we heard last Thursday. We got an absolute kicking at the polls, and it hurt, and it still hurts. And to respond to that with re-entering the European Union seems to me to be a fundamental misreading of what people are asking us for.
Now, Nana's nodding off camera, viewers, because she makes a good point, doesn't she? Why is Brexit, or unwinding Brexit, the answer to the problems facing us now, which are caused by COVID, the Ukraine invasion, Iran? That cost £500 billion spent in about 3 years. Why is that Brexit's fault? It's not, is it? It's about something else altogether. But Brexit is the panacea for all ills, according to some parts of the Labour left, it seems.
But could this have been... this was a sneaky move by Wes Streeting, because he's acting as though he's all friendly with Andy Burnham. So he's saying, because he's keeping
it's clever politics, because Andy Burnham, I look at Andy Burnham, I think he's so like Boris Johnson back in the day with the Tories. He's a metro mayor in charge of transport and policing. He's the prince over the water, to use that analogy. He's somebody who can sweep in and sort the problems out. But there are question marks about what he believes in. Who's going to pay for his nationalisation spree he's talking about? Who's going to really want to rechange the way we have our voting system in this country? Who's going to want to re-enter the European Union? I mean, these are big things and they're costly. And re-entering entering the EU, by the way, Matthew Elliott tells me, former Vote Leave boss, is 20 billion quid to go back to where we were before. That's, of course, adding in we lose the rebate that Margaret Thatcher negotiated. I think for Andy Burnham, he's got to tell us what is Manchesterism. So Manchesterism is his big idea. The Guardian says it's this. It's the politics of making people feel rooted and invested in local areas, which to me sounds very like localism, which is Boris Johnson's big idea. So what is Andy Burnham? The next 5 weeks, if we have the by-election on the 18th of June, and we assume he'll be selected by the Labour Party, we'll test that to destruction. And I wonder whether West Streeting might find himself enhanced by that debate.
And also Keir Starmer. Now, we don't know what he's going to do, but listening to West Streeting and Andy Burnham, as much as I cannot bear Keir Starmer at least said that he wasn't going to rejoin the EU, and that wasn't his mandate, even though he's etching us in piece by piece very slowly. But these two have said that they would. So aren't we... Sounds to me like we're better off with Keir Starmer. Is he going to run?
Well, because the red lines are intact for Keir Starmer, they don't join the customs union and single market or allow freedom of movement. He's chipping away at that, so will be a limited amount of 18 to 30-year-old freedom of movement agreed in a big summit with the European Union probably in June next month. But aside from that, we don't know whether Keir Starmer will stand. One of the big debates he's got is, what do I do? 7 days ago in The Observer, he was going to stand for 10 years, win the next election, 5 more years. He told me that in South Africa.
But he has to say
December.
that. Well, he has to say that. He's got to say that.
Well, of course he does until he doesn't. But he is saying that. So, and he is a fighter. And if, I should say, by the way, if Burnham doesn't win the Makerfield by-election, that is very bad news for... Sorry, if he wins it, that is bad news for Brexit. The reason why is this. That will embolden Labour Remainers who think we can beat a seat, which is 2/3 Brexit in 2016.
But then Reform will chuck everything at that.
Well, we haven't even got there because Reform will go for it. The Tories may have a paper candidate and pull back a bit. They're more worried about the by-election in Scotland, which has been vacated by Stephen Flynn. They all want to win that if they can unite the unionist vote. Greens are standing. That's bad news for Labour. That'll take away a few thousand votes from the Labour vote. And for Reform, they've got this Rupert Lowe party, which I'm not sure yet is a national party, good locally in Greater Yarmouth, but is Restore Britain enough to do enough to take on Farage nationally? I'm not sure on that. But it is absolutely extraordinary. Hold on to your hats. It's going to be an extraordinary time.
Oh, Christopher, well, I've got to let you go there. Thank you very much for that. Wow. God. I mean, seriously, perhaps they could think about running the country. Hello. Seriously. Right, well, stay with us because Scotland Yard estimated 60,000 people attended the Unite the Kingdom rally. 60,000 people? No. Seriously? In Parliament Square, which called for clampdowns on migration and political change. Well, barriers were put up to separate it from the pro-Palestine Nakba Day rally, which finished in Waterloo Place. Now, the Met said there were 43 arrests across both events, and they added that they proceeded largely without significant incident. A record 4,000 officers were deployed to deal with the gatherings at an estimated cost of £4.5 million. Well, joining me now is social policy analyst Rakib Hassan. Rakib, I'm just going to... I was at that rally. 60,000 people seems like a... Unless I've missed something, did they mean 600,000 or 60,000? Did you go to the rally?
No, I didn't go to the rally. I stayed in Luton yesterday, and I stayed away from it all. But I'm just looking at some of the narratives here. You mentioned some of those figures. There's conflicting reports in terms of how many attendees, how many protesters were there at the respective demonstrations. We had two there, primarily the pro-Palestine, and you can say broadly the nationalist demonstration. If you actually look at the figures, they went ahead fairly peacefully. In my view. And I think that you see people across the political spectrum, depending on their political persuasion, saying that this demonstration should be banned, this protest shouldn't go ahead. When actually I think that we should be protecting the freedom of protest. And I have to say, when you compare it to other events, if you take Notting Hill Carnival, for example, which I know that you've personally written a great deal about, and you've written some fantastic work on it, you can see that the level of criminality and the number of arrests there is far higher. So I think that overall, these two protests, I have to say, even though there may be different people attending those protests, overall, they went ahead fairly smoothly.
Starmer's speech, though, on the Friday, warning people about the dangers of the Unite the Kingdom rally. He claimed that it was, it was dangerous, divisive, all that sort of rhetoric. Yet, well, he was wrong, wasn't he?
Well, I think that when we're seeing United the Kingdom rallies in the past, when we saw the previous one, considering it was a nationalist demonstration, it was meant to be a patriotic demonstration, there were foreign agitators there who were invited to speak at the event. But I think that I'd dismiss caricatures of all protesters being far-right extremists, much like how I think there's some people who portray pro-Palestine demonstrations as hate marches. Not every single person attending a pro-Palestine demonstration is an anti-Semitic extremist. Not every person attending a Unite the Kingdom rally is a rabid ethno-nationalist. So I think that we need to get away from the caricatures, and I think we have to understand that within both protests, within both demonstrations, there's perfectly legitimate concerns.
That may be true, but the narrative that was being peddled at, say, for example, the pro-Palestine protest, they were shouting that Tommy Robbins should be stabbed in the neck like Charlie Kirk. They were chanting from the river to the sea. They were chanting Intifada. They're all the stuff that they're not meant to be shouting. But the reverse wasn't true for the Unite the Kingdom rally, you see. And no, because I was at it. And whilst they may have made a few comments about Keir Starmer, because they weren't happy with him, there were not chants attacking another race or anything. So there was none of that sort of thing. So whilst I appreciate some people would have been there protesting peacefully and all the thing that you're saying, as with both rallies, to me, there was a very significant difference in that had there been any chance that was similar on equivalence with the ones that were at the pro-Palestine rally, I think the United Kingdom rally would have been treated very, very differently. And there weren't.
Well, no. I think that that's a point to make. I think that previous pro-Palestine demonstrations, there have been there have been radical elements which have been under-policed. I think there have been anti-Jewish slogans being chanted. There's been the displaying of pro-terror paraphernalia, the glorification of terror as well. I think ultimately, though, I think that there's been, Nana, in my opinion, there's been far too many politicians and there's been far too many commentators who've been talking about we need to ban this demonstration, we need to ban this protest. I think we need to get away from that. And of course, radical extremist elements at any demonstration, they need to be policed appropriately and accordingly. But ultimately, we should protect the freedom of protest, because I think that's a cornerstone of our liberal democracy.
Well, it is also a cornerstone of our liberal democracy that your freedom of speech ends when you're curtailing somebody else's. So, when you're frightening Jewish people so they don't want to walk the streets and things like that, then we have to look at that seriously. And I think it's, I think many of other countries who aren't as liberal as us, some from those countries come in and take advantage, I think, of our free speech nature and say things that they would never be allowed to say in the countries that they've actually come from. Rakib, I'm so sorry I have to leave it there, but it's really good to talk to you. That's Rakib Hassan. He's a social policy analyst. Right, 22 minutes after 3 o'clock. You're with me. I'm Nana Akua. Still to come in my niggle, I'll be asking just what planet are the Labour Party on? But next, in the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, are Streeting and Burnham betraying democracy? This is GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get us on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Don't forget as well, you can download the GB News app. It is completely free, and then you can watch the channel at your leisure. Right, well, coming up, it's in the Great British Debate this hour. I'm asking, are Streeting and Burnham betraying democracy? Now, with Labour facing internal pressure after a bruising run of political setbacks, potential leadership contenders are already setting out their visions for Britain's future. Both Andy Burnham and Wes Streeting have suggested that the UK could one day rejoin the EU. I mean, really, but only with a fresh public mandate. Critics say that it risks reopening old Brexit divisions, as if we're all focusing on getting back into the EU. No, we're not. We're sick and tired of the small boats. Do you know what I mean? If only they would listen. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, are Streeting and Burnham betraying democracy? Well, joining me now, GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and businessman and commentator Jeff Banks. Well, I'm going to start with you, Nigel Nelson, because they're your lot. And they talked about integrity, the grown-ups are back in the room, change. No, it's not. It's more of the same, and it's actually fast forward even faster than the Conservatives. I mean, what the hell is going on?
Well, I mean, when it comes down to Europe, I think they're wrong, and I don't understand why they're actually raising it at the moment. Now, I was a Remainer. I think that I agree with Wes Streeting that leaving Europe was an economic catastrophe. But that was in what way? Well, in the way that a lot of people probably wouldn't notice. But for instance, food prices. Right. Now, after we left the EU, food prices went up 25%. Now, they'd have gone up anyway. Right. But 8%. So it's not really the fault of the EU. Well, hang on. 8% of that 25% was down to Brexit because of all the extra paperwork that we needed for border controls. That was £250 extra in food for every family in Britain per year. So that's what I mean about the economic consequences of Brexit. If you voted for it because you wanted sovereignty, you wanted to take back control, that's fine. But there was a price to pay. I happen to feel the price wasn't worth paying. But having said that, we did do it. I lost the argument, or my side lost the argument. So on the basis of that, I think it's wrong to try and unpick it all and go through another 10 years of chaos in doing so. All right, Jeff Banks.
I was definitely a leaver. In fact, I can remember on the morning after it was announced, I couldn't believe it. I actually came downstairs and somebody that works for me said, "We're leaving," and it was incredulous. I think it was the right decision. I think the problem really was that having delivered it to Boris, I don't think with a big majority, he didn't take advantage of it. He didn't build on it. And at the end of the day, 17.5 million people voted for us to get out. And we should stay out. So all of this thing, yes, has it been as financially gainful as it could have been? No, because I think it's been misused. I don't think we took advantage of it. On the question of food, I slightly question that, Nigel, because 78% of all of the food that we eat in Britain is actually grown here. We kind of tend to lose sight of that. So did that extra 8% come on the 20-odd% that we import? I don't necessarily think so. Did we actually stop the boats? Did we actually stop immigration? No. Boris immediately opened the door for 3 million new people to come in on the pretext of us needing this additional labour to assist us in running the country. I think that was a big mistake that's now costing us a lot of money. So for these two guys to think they can revert that decision and it's the right thing to do, I think, again, for me, it's more of the same from the Labour Party that will drive us deeper and deeper into recession.
Jeff, on the food prices, the issue is that it created an awful lot more paperwork for companies. So, for instance, if you want to bring in one consignment of fish or meat or cheese, that costs you an extra 145 quid in paperwork. That is being passed on to the consumer. What Keir Starmer is doing is trying to get rid of that. So the idea is that we can have a relationship with Europe, but not rejoin. I mean, rejoining means accepting the single market, which means accepting freedom of movement. British people aren't going to go for that. It would mean joining the customs union, which means no free trade deals with other parts of the world. Unpicking deals then with India, Australia, New Zealand, the ones we've already done. That's why I think that it's unrealistic to think we can go back. As I say, I wish we'd never left. I think we'd be better off if we hadn't left, but we did. So we've made that decision. If it was an economic mistake, we have to live with that and make the best of Brexit in the meantime.
Well, you mentioned fish there. You know, we actually really now control our own fishing rights. We're about to give that back to the French to allow them to ship in British waters, and then what they will be doing is fishing in our water and then importing fish into the UK, and we're going to be paying for it. So I think that what we have got is a government. When you mention, did we actually take advantage of doing trade deals around the world? We don't have a hustler running our country in the way America have got Donald Trump. We've done one deal with India, and what did that deal actually mean is that we now have to take Indian workers into the UK that don't pay national insurance. What a great deal that is. I mean, amazing. So
well, it depends how much money we get from it.
Unfortunately, we have people running our country that have never run anything in their lives. So when you talk about them having an ability to negotiate trade deals and all the rest of it, they have no idea commercially. So I think we could have taken a lot of advantage out of being free from the EU and actually gone about trade deals with India, with Cambodia, with South Korea, with China. We haven't taken any advantage of that, and we've just hunkered down.
Well, look, nobody, to your point, Nigel, nobody's saying that you shouldn't have a good relationship with your closest potential trading partner, but should they have any sort of influence over your laws in your country? Not really, no. Should they? Brexit should have given us sovereignty over domestic policy, but the government haven't taken advantage of it. The last thing we need to do now is go back into the EU and spend all our time focusing on that. I think that they're evading and avoiding the issues that the British people really care about. And one of those big issues, which is one of the things that really they should be looking at in Makerfield, is why people voted for Nigel Farage. And the reason they voted for Nigel Farage were the boats, and why this country is so angry, and why there's a Unite the Kingdom rally, and why so many people are prepared to talk about it. It's mass, uncontrolled, illegal immigration. And if they had spoken at least about that, then they would have had a chance. But unfortunately, it seems as if they hold their nose up and say, if you're focusing on that, oh no, there's a bigger issue.
Well, I mean, when it comes to immigration, the whole thing is let's try and deal with it realistically. And And
what, giving the French over 600 million? They've already admitted that that's not really, they haven't really used it for much, and it hasn't really helped.
Well, I mean, the idea of actually cooperating with the French rather than the reform idea of sending the Royal Marines out to take the boats back is a lot better.
Which one, the reform idea?
No, to actually do an agreement with the French.
Well, how's that gone?
Well, it is started to go much better.
It hasn't. They've actually, yesterday I read that the 600 million they've admitted that actually we don't. Yeah, it doesn't really do much for us at all.
Well,
do you know there were pictures at the weekend of the French police actually helping people getting onto the boats and waving them on their way? So we're paying them 660 million quid a year, and in fact, all that they're doing, the French police, is assisting everybody.
Well, I didn't see those pictures, but last year the French disrupted 700 boat crossings. So the French police are active. There are situations
disrupted or stopped, because I could disrupt a boat crossing and then let them go.
Well, disrupting in the sense of stopping
them from going across.
Obviously, what it doesn't mean is that it may well be there'll be another crossing later.
Exactly.
The National Crime Agency, on the smashing the gangs routine, they are smashing the gangs.
No, they're not, Nigel.
Well, they are. I mean,
what evidence? Because as far as we could see, boat crossings have gone up.
Yeah, well, hang on, but they'd have gone up more if the NCA hadn't been doing what they were doing a couple of weeks ago.
Well, they'd have gone up less if we'd had bad weather. I mean, seriously.
Well, yes, they would. I mean, if you had storms in the Channel for the entire year, there'd be no boat crossings at all.
How about if you stopped the boats, actually did it properly and did what Nigel says, get the Navy out there and do that, then they'd be going down pretty sharpish.
Yeah, but if you start trying to get the Navy out to send them back to France, you really need the agreement of France to do it.
I think France will learn that when you send them back, that then they might think, oh, maybe we should stop enabling it.
The French Navy may say, well, hang on a sec, we're not putting up with this. We'll bring them all back and drop them off on the north coast.
Well, then we'll bring them back to them as well, and I'm sure by then the people smugglers will be thinking, this business model isn't
working. France on that basis.
Well, I'm sorry, but I think what we do is we stop them fishing in our waters. Then why don't you do something like that? Why did they not negotiate that into the deal?
Yeah, but why is it that we don't actually have an agreement with France to send the SAS from Herefordshire into northern France and knock out the gangs and do it properly?
Well, would you want French gendarmes doing the same thing?
When you say that we've actually stopped the gangs, 200,000 people have actually come in, you know, since the Labour government have been, since the migrants started, 70-odd thousand since Labour have been in power. We've done nothing to stop them.
All right, well, listen, we'll keep talking about that. Let us know your thoughts, your comments. Still to come, my niggle. I'll be asking if the Labour Party are living in an alternative reality. But next, in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, was there two-tier policing today at the marches yesterday? We'll get that one right eventually. First, your latest news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Good afternoon to you. Our headlines. Andy Burnham and Wes Streeting could both seek to rejoin the EU if they were elected Labour Party leader. Wes Streeting, in his speech yesterday, said Britain's future lies within Europe. And Andy Burnham has also said there may be a case for rejoining the European Union in the long term, but says he would not advocate this in standing for the Makerfield by-election. The Met Police has said 43 arrests were made yesterday during a £4.5 million police operation to keep demonstrators at two rival London protests apart. Some 4,000 officers were deployed to manage a zone between a Unite the Kingdom rally and a pro-Palestinian demonstration. The World Health Organization has declared a public health emergency over an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. 80 people have died so far. Bulgaria won last night's Eurovision Song Contest with 27-year-old Dara coming first with her dance anthem Bangaranga. The UK's entry got 1 point. And the government is looking into a potential bid for the north of England to host the Olympics and Paralympics in the 2040s. You're up to date with the headlines. More coming up at 4.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good afternoon and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, we have showers and longer spells of rain as we head into the new week. Initially cool, but it does look like there's signs of things warming up. So out there at the moment, we have got the low pressure situated to the north, bringing this slow-moving weather front, and then westerly winds drawing in further showers as we go through this evening and overnight. That band of rain will continue to clear its way northwards across Orkney and Shetland. Otherwise, for most of us, it's a showery picture. More longer spells of rain initially across Northern Ireland into northwestern England, then running down into Wales and the southwest. Some of this rain could be heavy at times. Clearest and driest conditions to the east, and across Scotland and Northern Ireland, if we see any clear skies, that's where temperatures could fall. A touch of frost possible, but also a few mist and fog patches. So to start Monday morning, it's a much brighter start out there across northern parts of Scotland with plenty of sunshine. To the south of that, though, showery outbreaks of rain. Across Northern Ireland, some brightness further towards the south and west, but a few showers here. Otherwise, across much of England and Wales, especially western areas, that's where we have showery outbreaks of rain, a bright but fresh start in the east. As we head through the morning, this band of rain will continue to push its way eastwards. It breaks up, and then we'll start to see more showers developing as we head through the afternoon, even into parts of Scotland, turning drier across Northern Ireland, but hazy sunshine ahead of the next frontal system. Temperatures ranging from up to 14 to possibly 16 or 17 in the south and east. So we'll see showers continuing as we go through Monday evening. They'll start pushing their way north and eastwards, and then replaced by wet and windy conditions as we go overnight and into Tuesday. So outbreaks of rain for some of us, followed by showers, similar theme onto Wednesday, but otherwise temperatures will be rising.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
41 minutes after 3 o'clock. If you just tuned in, welcome. It's early days on the show, so you're welcome. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We are Britain's #1 news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. And it's time now for the Great British Debate. And I'm asking, was there two-tier policing at the marches yesterday? The Metropolitan Police used facial recognition at the Unite the Kingdom rally organised by Tommy Robinson, but not at the neighbouring pro-Palestine protest, leading some to claim that it was evidence of more two-tier policing in the capital. So the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, was there two-tier policing at the marches yesterday? Well, joining me now, GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and businessman and commentator Jeff Banks. Jeff Banks, I'll start with you.
Well, I was there. So I joined the Unite March at Euston Station. There were massive crowds. I mean, it was just, when I actually joined, it took me some time, probably an hour and 3/4 to get down to the junction with the Aldwych. So the crowd stretched all the way back there. So the numbers were massive.
Well, they seem to think it was 60,000.
I'd have put it closer to 200,000.
Right.
Just in fact, when you think of the length of that roadway, and I compare that to the walkway at Wembley, it was at least twice that. Right. So that's the only judgment I've got. Was I aware of two-tier policing? Absolutely not. I think the police, they were there, and they weren't being confrontational. In fact, when I got to Trafalgar Square, there were some guys that had had a few beers and they climbed up on one of the statues, and the police very politely told them to get down. The guys climbed down, the police helped them down, they didn't arrest them. So the whole thing was very convivial. I mean, there was a nice atmosphere. The police were quite jovial as I was walking down, waving, shaking hands with people. I then went over at about 4 o'clock to the other march at Green Park just to see what was going on there. And there were people that were actually masked up, faces covered, but the police weren't doing anything about that. So, again, they were holding back. So I think my opinion is the Met actually handled it in very well yesterday. There was no aggression, and they certainly weren't acting more harshly on the Unite March than they were on the Palestinian.
The Unite March had facial recognition cameras.
Yeah, and the reason for that was that, I mean, you were both there and I wasn't, so just to say right from the start. But the police had mounted an intelligence-led operation. They thought troublemakers were going to come into the Unite March. They didn't, they were wrong, but that's fine. So facial recognition was used. As a result, they managed to arrest somebody who was wanted for running over someone in Birmingham. So it did actually work. I think at the end of all this, especially from what Jeff had just said, we should be really grateful we live in a country where two marches like this with completely rival ideas can take place in the same place at the same time. I was just really proud to be British yesterday.
Well, I would say that, you know, there should have been facial recognition cameras on both marches. You either do one for, you know, you do either none or both. Do you know what I mean? Because actually they caught somebody who's run somebody over, and then maybe you never know what's going on in the other march. Also, I don't think you should be allowed to come to a protest with your face completely masked. I think that's...
But do you know one of the things, Nana, that I think incited it was Keir Starmer, right at the very beginning of the week, almost inciting aggravation with that kind of like statement that he put out, that already presuming that the Unite the Kingdom was going to be aggravation.
Yeah, well,
so he really was responsible, in my opinion, not the Met.
Yeah, well, you know, I will take that and tackle that in my niggle, Jeff, because I thought that was very unimpressive and he was actually wrong.
Yeah.
On the issue of facial recognition at the Unite the Kingdom rally, Deputy Assistant Commissioner James Harman previously stated the event is expected to attract significant numbers, and we have intelligence which indicates that there is likely to be a threat to public safety from some who might be in attendance. Live facial recognition won't be deployed within the assembly or rally points of either protest or on the route itself. Wow. All right, well, stay with me. First, though, let's check out the weather in Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, plenty of settled weather over the coming days for much of Europe as generally high pressure builds. Sunny spells across the Canaries through the rest of the weekend into Monday. On the sunny side and dry across much of Spain and Portugal. Showers, though, some of these heavy across France, northern Italy, but drier further south and across into Greece and Turkey as well. Temperatures rising 25, 26 Celsius. Plenty of sunshine to come over the coming days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Today is Victory in Europe Day. Hostilities will end officially at 1 minute after midnight tonight, Tuesday, the 8th of May.
This historic proclamation by Winston Churchill was a moment for the nation to rejoice. Celebrations were held across Europe to mark the end of the Second World War. 21 years on, VE Day is commemorated. At Deangate Care Home in Barnsley, a special party was held to honour those who helped defeat the Nazis all those decades ago and to thank veterans at the home.
We are a veteran-friendly home, and I like to showcase all of our veterans at any time of the year, and VE Day is just a perfect reason, really, to really put them on a pedestal and show everybody how good our veterans are and the local community is. We should be so thankful for what they've done.
For the veterans here, the sacrifices of those who gave their today for our tomorrow should never be forgotten.
The main thing is that my father's medals, which I wear on my right side, is just a tribute to him and that he served all the way through the Second World War. And, of course, myself when I served 22 years afterwards.
I think it was vital that they remembered this VE Day and, you know, that we carried it on.
Their dad was the only one left out of 5 in that tank. So he was injured in there, and he was in the 8th Army under Montgomery's division.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Well, good afternoon. You're with me. I'm Akua. This is GB News. It's 10 minutes to 4 o'clock. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Let's travel over to the United States and speak to the host of the Politics People podcast, Paul Duddridge, and find out what's going stateside. Now, Trump has apparently delivered 12 straight months of 0 border crossings. Hear that? 0. Wow.
Yeah, I'm glad you emphasised that. All the time the politicians in the UK are telling you that, oh, we need new legislation, we need deals with the French, we need deals with XYZ before we can carry out the one simple thing of protecting the border. Trump now, 12 months, as good as 0, basically. It's like down 94%. We have this thing on the southern border where there's like 100, in May 2024, and this is where the figures are taken from. 170,000 people tried crossing the border. 68,000 of them were released into the US in May 2024. Now, none of them are being released into the US. And it's been 12 straight months. As Trump always said, you know, you don't need a new law, you need a new president. And it's important to remember that, that it keeps being, I listen to GB News and the complications coming out of number 10, these smashing the gangs, these deals with the French. It's like, no, you can stop it if you want to. If they're not stopping it, they don't want to.
And it seems very odd that they wouldn't want to do that. And they're almost literally in this country avoid talking about it. And if you dare talk about it, then you're heading towards the far right. Now, I want to ask you about Donald Trump, because he went to China. He took some heavyweights with him, very wisely. He didn't go with a begging bowl like Rachel Reeves or come back with boat engines like Keir Starmer. But he apparently sipped some champagne. He's supposed to be teetotal. Is this true?
He's famously teetotal. And I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. The White House and the Chinese representatives, nobody's actually completely clear on what he sipped. I mean, he is notoriously teetotal. And there's some discussion that did they substitute the champagne, because you've seen him on the news report, some discussion that they substituted his champagne for something that looked alike. But when he drank it, he sort of grimaced. So he didn't look like a guy that regularly drinks alcohol, but didn't want to offend his hosts. So, as I said, has Trump broken his lifelong aversion to alcohol to appease his hosts in China? We don't know yet. And listen, I think it's the most important story of the week, but I'd like to find out because of the way he's always been anti-alcohol because of the tragic end of his brother, who he hero worshipped. And so, Trump this week seen sipping champagne. And if he did that, again, what another great gesture that he'd be prepared to do that for the sake of his country.
Yeah, bless him. And also, his mobile phone is finally released. Why did they take it?
I know. So Trump, I love this. We've got a president who's actually banging out merch at the same time. It's fantastic. We've had the hats, we've had the gold sneakers. We've been promised this phone. We've been promised this phone for years, and now it's finally getting released, I think, this week. And it's this Trump mobile phone. And to all intents and purposes, it looks like many other phones, but gold.
Oh, okay.
And it's it's running Android. Like his hair, exactly. But yes, finally we're going to see this Trump gold phone. So yes, it's there probably on Trump's store somewhere. But yeah, I love
hair on the side of it. And what about the ballroom? Apparently the White House, the ballroom that he's building is going to have a hospital on it. Really?
I know, they're sticking a hospital in it. You know that he keeps adding to it. This is the thing. They keep kind of going like, hey, this is going over budget. It's like, no, it's getting bigger and bigger and getting cheaper and cheaper. This week we find this ballroom, this protested ballroom, is going to have a hospital. It's going to have a hospital. And it's just like, this guy is, his extensions to the White House are bigger and larger scale than the actual White House. It's going to have a fully working hospital in it.
Paul Dudridge, he is box office just like you. Thank you very much, Paul Dudridge, host of the Politics People podcast. Stay with me. Next, my niggle. I'll be asking just what planet are Labour on. But first, let's get an update with your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good afternoon and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, we have showers and longer spells of rain as we head into the new week. Initially cool, but it does look like there's signs of things warming up. So out there at the moment, we have got the low pressure situated to the north, bringing this slow-moving weather front, and then westerly winds drawing in further showers as we go through this evening and overnight. That band of rain will continue to clear its way northwards across Orkney and Shetland. Otherwise, for most of us, it's a showery picture. More longer spells of rain initially across Northern Ireland into northwestern England, then running down into Wales and the southwest. Some of this rain could be heavy at times. Clearest and driest conditions to the east, and across Scotland and Northern Ireland, if we see any clear skies, that's where temperatures could fall. A touch of frost possible, but also a few mist and fog patches. So to start Monday morning, it's a much brighter start out there across northern parts of Scotland with plenty of sunshine. To the south of that, though, showery outbreaks of rain. Across Northern Ireland, some brightness further towards the south and west, but a few showers here. Otherwise, across much of England and Wales, especially western areas, that's where we have showery outbreaks of rain, a bright but fresh start in the east. As we head through the morning, this band of rain will continue to push its way eastwards. It breaks up and then we'll start to see more showers developing as we head through the afternoon, even into parts of Scotland, turning drier across Northern Ireland, but hazy sunshine ahead of the next frontal system. Temperatures ranging from up to 14 to possibly 16 or 17 in the south and east. So we'll see showers continuing as we go through Monday evening. They'll start pushing their way north and eastwards and then replaced by wet and windy conditions as we go overnight and into Tuesday. So outbreaks of rain for some of us, followed by showers, similar theme onto Wednesday, but otherwise temperatures will be rising.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. It's 4 o'clock and for the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next few hours, political commentator Nigel Nelson, and businessman and commentator Jeff Banks. Coming up in my niggle.
Way! Yeah, nice to meet you all. Yeah! Woo! Yeah! Well, I mean, the part aren't supposed to like black people, but these people seem amazing.
Yes, was London really taken over by the far right yesterday? I mean, really? I went down there and had a look for myself. You won't want to miss my thoughts and comparisons with the Nakba rally. Then coming up, Wes Streeting ups the ante and calls Brexit a catastrophic mistake as he positions himself for a potential leadership contest and looks to distance himself from Andy Burnham. I'll be bringing you the latest developments. Then in the interview, joining me, Timothy Cho, who escaped North Korea and is now rebuilding his life in the UK. He has an extraordinary story that you won't want to miss. Then in the Great British Debate, with Wes Streeting and Andy Burnham seeking to scrap Brexit and rejoin the EU if they become Prime Minister, I'll be asking, are we better off sticking with Sir Keir Starmer? I've got a poll up live on gbnews.com. Please cast your vote and answer that question. I'd love to hear what you think. But before we get started, your latest news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much indeed, Nana. Good afternoon to you. 4:04. Our top stories. The Culture Secretary has challenged Wes Streeting's remarks about rejoining the EU in an apparent rift over the issue at the top of the Labour Party. Lisa Nandy says her former cabinet colleague risks restarting Brexit wars with his call to rejoin the bloc, describing his position as odd. Europe looks set to become an issue in any future leadership contest. Andy Burnham says there may be a long-term case for rejoining the EU, but insists he will not be campaigning on that issue in the upcoming by-election in Makerfield, a Brexit voting constituency. Ms Nandy says winning the by-election will be tough for Mr Burnham and told Camilla Tominey a fresh debate about the EU's not what the country wants.
I watched what Wes had to say quite carefully yesterday, and he's a friend of mine and deserves to be taken seriously. But I think it is a bit odd to respond to the absolute roar of noise that we heard last Thursday. We got an absolute kicking at the polls, and it hurt, and it still hurts. And to respond to that with re-entering the European Union seems to me to be a fundamental misreading of what people are asking us for.
The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, has accused Labour of putting a leadership contest ahead of the national interest.
Labour are now 100% focused on themselves and not on the country. Of course, Andy Burnham is doing this to challenge Keir Starmer. Why else has someone given up their seat specifically for this purpose? And all the while, I tell you what Labour aren't talking about. They're not talking about the economy. You look at the spike, in gilt yields in the market. They're not talking about bringing down welfare. They're not talking about defence. This is just their own personal psychodrama.
Police officers protecting the royal family at Windsor Castle are under investigation over allegations they slept while on duty. The Met's Professional Standards Department will assess whether any officers should be placed on restricted duties. In June last year, an intruder managed to scale a wall and get into a restricted area before he was arrested. It's understood the royal family are aware about the investigation, and a decision is expected before the end of next week. The Met Police say 43 arrests were made during 2 rival London protests yesterday, including 11 hate crime-related offences. 20 people detained were linked to the Unite the Kingdom protest, while 12 were associated with a pro-Palestinian Nakba Day march. Some 4,000 officers were deployed to deal with the gatherings at an estimated cost of £4.5 million. And the Met says around 60,000 people attended yesterday's demonstration, the Unite demonstration. That's almost half of the estimated attendance from last year. The World Health Organization has declared a public health emergency over an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo and neighbouring Uganda. All but 2 of more than 300 suspected cases were recorded in the DRC, but the WHO says significant uncertainties about the true number of those infected and the geographical spread remain. The virus, highly contagious, it spread through bodily fluids and could also be caught from infected animals. There are currently no approved drugs or vaccines for the current strain. It is thought to have a fatality rate of around 50%. 4 people have been killed in Russia overnight after Ukraine unleashed its biggest attack on Moscow in over a year. Russia's defence ministry said more than 1,000 Ukrainian drones were downed across the country over the past 24 hours. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky had vowed retribution for Russian strikes on the capital, Kyiv, on Friday. Iran's announced plans to charge fees for ships trying to go through the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranian Parliament's National Security Committee announced the mechanism to control traffic through the key international shipping lane will be unveiled soon. It comes after Donald Trump said Chinese President Xi Jinping agreed with him that Tehran must open the strait. Beijing, though, has given no indication that it will step in. The US president was in China for 2 days of talks with the Chinese leader. Police Scotland says 2 officers were seriously injured by violence in Glasgow city centre after Celtic's Premiership win against Hearts. Fans took to the streets to celebrate the dramatic final day decider, which Celtic won to make it 5 titles in a row. The force says they were met with unacceptable violence and hostility when they went into a crowd to deal with a medical emergency, with bottles and missiles thrown. 14 arrests were made. Police say more are likely to follow. The Church of Scotland's officially apologised for its historical support and involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. At a meeting of the General Assembly in Edinburgh, delegates from Scotland's largest religious denomination were joined by ministers from Nigeria, Ghana and Jamaica. The Church of Scotland say they are sorry for having collectively and individually contributed to and benefited from the enslavement of people of African descent. And the government's looking into a potential bid to host the Paralympic and Olympic Games in the north of England in the 2040s. It's part of an ambition to drive regeneration in towns and cities through sport. Now, if it did succeed, it will be the first game staged in Britain since London 2012. You're up to date with the headlines. More coming up at 4:30.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It is fast approaching 8 minutes after 4 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. The Labour Party have lost the room. On Friday, we were warned about the dangers of the Unite the Kingdom rally by our Prime Minister at the moment, Sir Keir Starmer.
Tomorrow's march in London is a reminder of what we're up against in the battle of our values. The organisers, including convicted thugs and racists, are peddling hatred and division, plain and simple. Their goal is to convince people that Britain's problems are caused by those living alongside them. But that is not the Britain that I know. This is a country built on decency, fairness and respect. A country that is at its best when people from different backgrounds come together in common purpose.
Is he talking about this rally?
I'm just sick and tired of the way the country's going, how it's just being run by the government. Keir Starmer doesn't care about us, doesn't care what we want. He's absolutely ruining the country, flooding it with illegal immigration. He's not stopping it.
Or maybe Keir Starmer actually means this rally, the pro-Palestine Nakba one.
We've seen signs today that there's blood on the hands of Sir Keir Starmer, that no to Farage, no to Robinson, no to Donald Trump, no to fascism. We're seeing all sorts of signs like that. We've heard chants and seen signage of from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, which, as we know, is often considered a very controversial statement to make.
See, I'm a bit confused, Keir. You talk about sowing division, but as far as I can see, your speech right there did exactly that.
The organisers, including convicted thugs and racists, are peddling hatred and division.
But guess what, Keir? You were wrong. There's egg on your face. There were only 43 arrests the whole day, and that's for both protests, adding that they proceeded largely without significant incident. And actually, the pro-Palestine march was full of people chanting from the river to the sea, chanting Tommy Robinson should be shot in the neck like Charlie Kirk. Disgusting. Can you imagine if the Unite the Kingdom rally had any such equivalence? That's why the people of this country are fed up of you all here, and that includes Wes Streeting and Andy Burnham, who would both be prepared to overturn a democratic mandate. During the march and at kick-off time for the FA Cup, great timing, Wes, I suspect perhaps he thought we wouldn't notice, Wes Streeting announced his wish to stand for the Labour leadership. He told us what he'd do about Brexit.
The biggest economic opportunity we have is on our doorstep. We need a new special relationship with the EU because Britain's future lies with Europe and one day, back in the European Union.
Andy Burnham also expressed his wish to go back into the EU.
Are you in favour of rejoining the European Union?
I've said in the long term there is a case for that, but I'm not advocating that in this by-election. In fact, what I am saying is focus now domestically. Britain has got to focus very much on the here and now.
Well, at least he realised that openly planning to undo Brexit whilst contesting a seat where people voted to leave by 2/3 and in a reform stronghold was a bad idea. But we know that he wants to rejoin as well. They are so out of touch. Rather than attempting to overturn a democratic mandate, how about you focus your efforts on protecting our borders? Instead, their rhetoric just reveals the contempt that this despicable government have for the British people. Well, it's 12 minutes after 4 o'clock. You're with me. I'm Nana Akua on GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Don't forget as well, you can stream the show live on YouTube. Now, coming up this hour in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, is Britain becoming ungovernable? As yet another Prime Minister finds himself fighting for his job. I'll be asking, how is it that Britain is burning through Prime Ministers as if as if there's no tomorrow? Can anything be done to stop Downing Street becoming a revolving revolving door. So in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, is Britain becoming ungovernable? Then in the next Great British Debate, should Labour clamp down on welfare spending? It has been revealed that benefit claimants bought more than 500,000 discounted tickets to tourist attractions, including the Tower of London and Kensington Palace. And unfortunately, those who are working aren't, well, they're at work. So in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, should Labour clamp down on welfare spending, for goodness sake? And I'll be covering the shocking story of the former BBC News boss who has claimed that she was driven out of the top job by trans activists. I'll be speaking to a former BBC insider and asking what on earth is going on. Well, all of that is coming up. As ever, send me your thoughts, post your comments at gbnews.com/yoursay. So I'm joined now by journalist and member of Chatham House, Dr. Hamid Khan. Dr. Khan, thank you very much for joining me. Let's start with the speech that Keir Starmer put forward. Some might say that, in a way, it was almost an incitement. And he obviously didn't deliberately mean it that way, but he was kind of talking about something that hadn't happened in a very negative manner, as though that would be an inevitable outcome.
I mean, we all know what Labour our views about extreme right-wing, whether it is Tim Robinson or anyone. And I believe that we have to understand that any kind of, any peaceful protest with everybody's right, equal right within British values, within, the laws of United Kingdom. But the only thing is that we have to understand that what outcome is coming from this kind of protest. What is the outcome? The outcome is, I would say that sadly, it is damaging the social fabric of Britain. It is damaging the multiculturalism and the ideal situation which we had for many, many decades, that it is a country of harmony and acceptance from all the religions, for all the religions and all the races. But if it's going to be targeting one race or one religion, eventually it will damage and tarnish the whole society, where we have, we always say proudly about the British values. Second thing, we have to understand that, there is no doubt that at the moment reform, politics has been very much accepted within, we have seen in recent local elections as well. But the thing is that, is it going to be beneficial in the longer run for the Britain or not? Because we have seen, I mean, nobody will defend the criminals. Nobody will defend the offenders. Nobody will defend the illegal immigrants. But we have to consider about the legal, legal residents, about the legal British naturalized citizens. We have to consider their contribution. We have to consider their contribution in health sector. We have to consider their contribution in social welfare. We have to consider their contribution in hospitality, in labor class. The whole, if you look at the entire system, I believe that if you go through the, facts and figures, even in the grooming gangs and all the things, nobody will defend the offenders or criminals. But at the same time, that they want a kind of recognition and appreciation across the board, even from the right wings, about the contribution of all the races and the religions, living with a harmony.
Okay, so what is damaging British values? Are you saying that the Unite the Kingdom rally was damaging British values, or are you saying that the pro-Palestine protest was damaging British values?
To be very honest, the both in their own ways. To be very honest, they both, when they go for the extreme ideology, when they talk about when they give the slogans of any kind of I would say any kind of violent slogans from any side are damaging. First, secondly, with the extreme right wing, it is long it is going to be damaging in longer term, because they are talking about the local changes. They are talking about
where was the sorry. Did you attend either of these rallies, just out of interest, Hamid?
No, I didn't. I've been watching. I've been watching very closely.
Why would a rally called Unite the Kingdom, which brought together all parts of the United Kingdom, and there were, flags from Iran and Israel and all of that, and they were just coming together to show their displeasure at the government, but also coming together to demand that the government protect the borders and for the people in the country. Why would that be something that is divisive?
I'll tell you. The only thing is, if you look at the way they are treating everyone with the same brush, that is the main concern. You cannot treat everybody with the same brush. If you look at the speeches, from the far right, their speeches are brushing everybody equally based on their religion. We are talking about that narrative. The narrative must be very clear that anybody who's involved in illegal activities, yes, he should be punished. Anybody who's lawfully living,
I'm confused, right? That is fine. Nobody's going to argue that somebody who does something criminally negligent or bad right now, right here, shouldn't be punished. But at the same time, if you've done that and you've served your time for your crime or whatever it is, then you should be treated normally and fairly, just like everybody else. There's no problem with that at all. Absolutely. But I would say that just looking at the two, one was promoting unity, and the other one, they were chanting things like Charlie Kirk, stabbing someone in the neck like Charlie Kirk. They were chanting from the river to the sea. My point is that those chants would not have been allowed in the United Kingdom. If there had been anything that was slightly like that, that wouldn't have been allowed. Keir Starmer was wrong. He got it the wrong way round.
Agreed. Definitely, Nana. Nobody's allowed to have such kind of chanting where they will do, Charlie Kirk comparison or anything. There is no margin for that. But at the same time, on the name of unity, if somebody is trying to bring the division, they should be held answerable as well. On the name of unity.
But that wasn't the case, though. But I agree with you, and I'm sure the people who organised the march would agree with the same thing. So the whole thing, I just sometimes hear the word unite the kingdom. Everybody's together. People are chanting all different creeds, colours, religions and everything. I was there. I saw it with my own two eyes. I don't understand why there was such animosity towards that from our government when they were quite OK to facilitate a march that would allow, and we've seen it time and time again, week in, week out, people chanting from the river to the sea. Jewish people would never go anywhere near that march, and covering their faces, calling literally everyone under the sun that they don't like, all sorts of names, and threatening death to certain people. That did not happen at the United Kingdom rally, but it did happen at the other one.
Nana, definitely in such situation, the law must prevail. The law must find their way. If somebody is hiding and covering their faces and doing any kind of, slogans or anything, the law must deal with them very strictly. There is no doubt. And government, I agree with you, that should not facilitate one to another on preferably in terms of when they are using their basic right of protest or basic right of public gathering. There is no doubt about it. Yes. But at the same time, I only urge one thing, that is that in the longer run, we have to understand that the 6%, over 4 million Muslims are living in United Kingdom now, right? Yes. Legally living, contributing in the GDP growth more than an average indigenous white people. On the other hand, if you look at the criminal records, I always mention that the rate of crime in other indigenous white or other communities higher than the
Where do you get those figures from? Because there's, in comparison to the number of Muslims, you're actually you're the right way around now. Don't turn the camera around, because then you go to the side. I don't know where you're getting the figures from to say that Muslims are contributing more than the indigenous white people in this country. And again, I think that's
financial contribution.
And I think that's sort of slightly, again, that's kind of divisive rhetoric. The very thing that you said that wasn't really acceptable. That's just not. Because indigenous white, don't you mean the British people? Because British people are contributing to the economy.
Of course, they all are British.
You've gone sideways again. This is perfect. Your camera is good like this. No, it's good. No, stop. Don't do it again. Because you go sideways. This is your straight up, your normal. This is fine. Yeah.
They all are British. I believe they all are equally contributing. The only point I want to make is that whosoever is contributing legally and with their effort, they should have not been discriminated in any way. Or
but they weren't. There was no discrimination about somebody who contributes more or less. It was really the rally in the United Kingdom.
They are practicing their legal right to protest.
That's fine. But I'm not sure that comparisons of, one religion contributing more than the indigenous white people.
I don't compare.
I'm not sure that's helpful. I'm not sure where that goes with this conversation. I think we're just talking about the government acting quite unfairly and not connecting with what the British people actually want.
There is no justification for that from the government. If the government, treat unjustified or unfairly to one protester to another, it must be condemned. I have no doubt about it.
Listen, I have to leave it there, Hamid. we're going to have to have a longer section together and talk more. You've gone sideways again. I'm going to have to leave it there.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's Dr. Hamid Khan. Thank you so much. He's a journalist and a member of Chatham House. Right, you're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. Still to come in my interview. Timothy Cho, who escaped North Korea and is now rebuilding his life in UK, will be joining me. I can't wait to hear his story. But next in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, is Britain becoming ungovernable? This is GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
26 minutes after 4 o'clock. If you just tuned in, we start at 3. What? No, there's no rallies today. There's no excuses. 3 o'clock next time, be there or be square. Right, I'm Nana Akua, welcome. This is GB News. We are Britain's #1 news channel. Right, it's time now for the Great British Debate, and I'm asking, is Britain becoming ungovernable? Now, there was a time that Prime Minister were accused of staying for too long. Margaret Thatcher served 11 years, Tony Blair 10, and even John Major 7. But those days are gone. Theresa May was only Prime Minister for 3 years. Boris Johnson also served 3, despite winning a big majority in 2019. Who can forget Liz Truss and her infamous 45 days in office? Her successor, Rishi Sunak, spent 2 years as Prime Minister before being booted out in the election in 2024. And now Keir Starmer is fighting to keep his job after less than 2 years in office. So, for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is Britain actually becoming ungovernable? Well, joining me now, GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and businessman and commentator Jeff Banks. Nigel.
Well, it's certainly making it more difficult to govern, I think. You mentioned two people there, and I think one of the problems is we haven't had any outstanding prime ministers since Tony Blair and before that Margaret Thatcher. That's why they got 3 terms in office, because they were outstanding. Now, I didn't agree with Margaret Thatcher, but that doesn't mean that she didn't have a direction for the country and she put it into practice. There's also, I think, a lot of other things that have happened, that everything changed a bit after the 2008 financial crash. That started causing, well, obviously causes financial chaos. Then we had Brexit, which caused political chaos. You've then got international shocks which we're not in control of, COVID, Ukraine, Iran.
Nigel, if you run the country, things will happen. I can't even take these as excuses as to why they all failed. It's because those are actually global issues. Being Prime Minister is a global international job, and these are things that can affect it, but you have to be able to cope. I mean, you know, Margaret Thatcher, Falkland Islands, she dealt with that. You know,
sure,
they've all had their issues. Tony Blair, Afghanistan, they've all had things they've had to deal with. That's the job. If that's not the job, what are they meant to do? Just sit around and everything's going to be hunky-dory?
But the point I'm making is there are things that happen that aren't the fault of governments, any government.
So what? It's how they respond. Jeff Banks.
I think if we went back to that march on Saturday of like thousands and thousands of people that turned up that want to be governed. So are they ungovernable people? No, they're not. They get a call to actually bowl up in London with their flags and they're willing to do it. I think the problem is that we've had successive governments that either do not have a strategy, like the current government, or they have people that are actually in charge of that government that are simply not leaders. So when I look at people like Rishi Sunak, nice guy, an accountant, probably a very good banker, was he a leader? Absolutely not. You know, wet lettuce. I look at Keir Starmer, a lawyer that actually maybe was very good at his job. A lot of people say, oh, behind the scenes he's a nice guy. Is he a leader? Absolutely not. And did he, given 14 years that he had to put in position a structure, a strategy and a policy that he could then run with, didn't even come equipped with that. And then a bunch of people that are amateurs that are not able to put into action any strategy anyway. So if they had the right strategy, the right people in place, could they govern? Everybody would listen to them. Just the wrong people. That's what we're looking for.
What about that? I mean, you've got Bridget Phillipson. Oh, my goodness, she's almost destroyed the private school sector with all her changes, which were just unnecessary. You've got Rachel Reeves, who talked about a £22 billion black hole, and now she's fallen in it and doubled it, literally. I mean, you've got David Lammy, who the things that he comes up with is getting rid of juries. I mean, what is going on? This is not... They're not governing the country properly, are they?
Well, I mean, that is actually a question of judgment, whether you think, for instance, that people should pay so parents can choose where they send their kids, or whether those parents should pay for it themselves. So,
well, they're paying twice, aren't they? So it doesn't make any sense to punish them. But all I'm saying is, things that you didn't need to change, you're getting your hands involved in.
I think that,
when the whole place is falling apart.
Yes, mistakes have been made, and this was my point. That again, I think Jeff alluded to too. When you look at people like Margaret Thatcher and Tony Blair, what they actually had was a foundational set of beliefs that they came into government with, and when they were governing, they roughly kept to those beliefs. So with Margaret Thatcher, it was the belief in the free market and its ability to solve most economic problems. With Tony Blair, it was the idea that you could pick the best from left and right and put it together in what he called his third way. So they were guided all the way through, and I can't think of a Prime Minister other than those two in the last 45 years who's had that.
Yeah.
I agree. Completely, but I think what we are looking for, and what the people were that turned up on Saturday, they're willing to be governed. So if the debate is Britain ungovernable? No, it can be. The people are ready for it. But you need the right level of leadership, you need the right strategy, the right ideas that are going to get us back into affordable energy, manufacturing again, protect the borders, all of those very simple things that people are actually asking for. But somebody that comes in that's actually got the power of a leader, like a Donald Trump, whether you like him or you don't like him, has actually got the charisma to lead, and people are willing to follow.
But do you not think that one of the things that also happened over the last 20 years is social media, which has made people more impatient for the kind of changes they want, and is just not realistic in the sense of being deliverable?
I don't think it's made them impatient. I think it's just made them knowledgeable. So, you know, everybody complains about social media.
But there's a lot of rubbish on it.
I think it's a very good thing. So there may be some rubbish on it, but there's a lot of very good stuff on social media. I have become more knowledgeable on a lot of facts as a result of it. So it's a good thing. I've forgotten the name of the guy that invented the internet. He actually said he was doing the best thing he possibly could for mankind, and at the same time the worst thing. So there's a lot of accuracy in that. And Ian, somebody whose name was. But
what about I've got to go because I've got to get to the news. But when we come back, we can talk about it. What about the actual political order? So, for example, the civil service, this, that. So, even if you did have a good idea, you'd probably never be able to get it through. So, it's very difficult to get different policies through. Very briefly, Nigel.
Yeah, and the other thing, we've now got five-party politics where we used to have two. That's complicated the issue and put a strain on the democratic process.
Well, what do you mean that there's been more opinion? The two parties have lost their stranglehold on the country because they're useless.
That's the way of putting it, yes.
33 minutes after 4 o'clock, this is GB News. Still to come with Timothy Cho, an inspirational man. My interview, I'll be finding out more about his life. He's dedicated it to helping others since escaping North Korea. But next in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, should Labour clamp down on welfare spending? First, your latest news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Nana. Good afternoon to you. Our headlines from the GB newsroom. A rows broken out at the top of the Labour Party over rejoining the EU after Wes Streeting said Britain's future lies with Europe. Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy has described the comments as odd. The Met Police says an urgent investigation is underway into allegations a number of Royal Protection officers left their posts unattended and slept while on duty at Windsor Castle. A decision is expected before the end of next week. The Met Police has said 43 arrests were made yesterday at 2 competing protests in central London. More than 4,000 officers were deployed to manage a zone between a Unite the Kingdom rally and a pro-Palestinian demonstration. Police Scotland says 2 officers were seriously injured when violence broke out in Glasgow city centre after Celtic's Premiership win against Hearts. 14 arrests were made. The force said they were met with unacceptable violence and hostility. And the government's looking into a potential bid for the north of England to host the Olympic and Paralympic Games in the 2040s. You're up to date with the headlines. More coming up at 5.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good afternoon and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, we have showers and longer spells of rain as we head into the new week. Initially cool, but it does look like there's signs of things warming up. So out there at the moment, we have got the low pressure situated to the north, bringing this slow-moving weather front, and then westerly winds drawing in further showers as we go through this evening and overnight. That band of rain will continue to clear its way northwards across Orkney and Shetland. Otherwise, for most of us, it's a showery picture. More longer spells of rain initially across Northern Ireland into northwestern England, then running down into Wales and the southwest. Some of this rain could be heavy at times. Clearest and driest conditions to the east, and across Scotland and Northern Ireland, if we see any clear skies, that's where temperatures could fall. A touch of frost possible, but also a few mist and fog patches. So to start Monday morning, it's a much brighter start out there across northern parts of Scotland with plenty of sunshine. To the south of that, though, showery outbreaks of rain. Across Northern Ireland, some brightness further towards the south and west, but a few showers here. Otherwise, across much of England and Wales, especially western areas, that's where we have showery outbreaks of rain, a bright but fresh start in the east. As we head through the morning, this band of rain will continue to push its way eastwards. It breaks up and then we'll start to see more showers developing as we head through the afternoon, even into parts of Scotland, turning drier across Northern Ireland, but hazy sunshine ahead of the next frontal system. Temperatures ranging from up to 14 to possibly 16 or 17 in the south and east. So we'll see showers continuing as we go through Monday evening. They'll start pushing their way north and eastwards and then replaced by wet and windy conditions as we go overnight and into Tuesday. So outbreaks of rain for some of us, followed by showers, similar theme onto Wednesday, but otherwise temperatures will be rising.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again. To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 38 minutes after 4 o'clock. This is GB News. We are Britain's #1 news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. And it's time now for the Great British Debate. And I'm asking, Britain's welfare bill is under fresh scrutiny. So is it time now for the government to, well, I'm asking, numbers are a record high. Should Labour clamp down on welfare spending? OK, so there's loads going on, but what do you think? Because, as we see it, the welfare bill is under fresh scrutiny after benefit claimants bought more than 500,000 discounted tourist tickets last year. Now, some universal credit claimants paid as little as £1 to visit sites like the Tower of London, under schemes critics have dubbed a shadow welfare state. They say that full-paying visitors are helping cover the costs, leaving working families with a penalty for a day out. I mean, it just gets worse, doesn't it? So I'm asking, what do you think? Should Labour clamp down on welfare spending? They tried it once, but it didn't work. Well, joining me now, GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and businessman and commentator Jeff Banks. Jeff Banks.
I think you've actually got to face up to the reality that if you've got a few bob in your pocket and one of your friends needs help, then you can actually afford to help them and look after them. As we stand as a country at this moment in time, we can't afford the level of welfare. We're no longer a manufacturing company. We haven't got the income coming in. Our GDP is down. So our ability to actually bring money into the coffers is severely restricted. So therefore, our ability to actually help those people in need is restricted. So you have to reduce it. And that, once you've actually weaned people off going out to work, earning a living, putting in a shift, and it's actually more profitable to stay at home doing nothing than it is to actually go out to work, that's a very difficult task to actually turn that around. Now, unfortunately, that's the situation that we're in. For example, somebody that works for me that actually earns £50,000 a year, which for a young designer is quite high, take home, she actually goes away with £32,000. So out of that £32,000 to pay rent, maybe go on holiday occasionally, some of her friends are actually better off than her not working. Now, where's the inducement to actually want to go to work when welfare is actually a better position to be in? So we've now got 8 million people on welfare benefit, and we simply can't afford it, and we now have to change that around. And if this government is going to have any sign of survival, it's a problem that it has to address. Well, it's out of control.
Yeah, it does seem it. Look, 8.4 million people in this country are claiming universal credit. Well, of course, there are 13.2 million people receiving the state pension and millions more claiming health and disability-related support. Now, that's a lot of people claiming benefits. I don't object to people having the state pension at all. I think they've paid in to a system whilst others have received what they've paid in, so it has to work that eventually people can pay for them. And the pensioners, they can't necessarily just go out and get a job. But there are loads of people on welfare who shouldn't be on welfare.
Well, Well, this is a good question. I think that Jeff's point there is that welfare should never pay more than work. So that is a principle, and certainly that was the principle when universal credit came in that was meant to operate. When it comes to getting tickets for things like Tower of London or whatever that are discounted, well, children are discounted and so are pensioners, so I'm not too bothered about that. What I think you need to do is not just go around slashing welfare arbitrarily, which is what Rachel Reeves planned to do with disability benefits.
Well, that was ridiculous.
Well, she was going to knock $5 billion off them without knowing what she was knocking $5 billion off. And so what we have now is a review by Sir Stephen Timms to find out who needs benefits, how much they need, and who doesn't need benefits. And that's the way to go forward. What you mustn't do is take it away from those who desperately need it, especially if you're disabled, can't get it, can't work. So if you go that route, you will save some money. You may not save the $5 billion as quickly as Rachel Reeves wanted, but you will save money. But you'll also ensure that people are protected.
Well, wasn't that the problem, the sort of approach to it, which really actually punished people who actually needed welfare and clearly needed welfare, didn't work, which is why she got such backlash and now struggles to even get anything through.
And Labour backbenchers then objected to that and she had to drop it. And now we've got a proper review to find out.
How long will that take now?
Well, that's the other problem. I mean, if you do a review, you're not going to get the money immediately, which is what Rachel Reeves wanted. The idea is that the Stephen Timms should be reporting by the autumn.
So that's not as bad, but it's quite obvious. I mean, so people claiming anxiety. Yeah, young people as well. So, yeah, I get it that you can have... I'm not saying that mental health isn't something you can claim benefits for, but anxiety, really? I'm anxious. So everybody has a level of anxiety just going about life. And if you're very young, then obviously you're going to be quite anxious because you're just starting out in work. Surely it's better to have these people in work than sitting at home twiddling their thumbs going, I'm anxious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm anxious every day. I think I should actually go on the benefit. I wish there was a day when I wasn't anxious. But I think one of the problems that we have is, one, a lot of young people are now not being employed because of the hike in national insurance tax. So employers aren't hiring them because the cost of employing them is greater than their value. So that's put a lot of young people off the job market.
And the minimum wage.
And the minimum wage, add that to it as well. So whereas somebody could actually leave college or university and maybe go and work as a shop assistant or whatever for a bit until they decide their career path, that doesn't happen anymore because people aren't hiring. So they're at home, they're in a position to now start claiming benefit. The spiral goes up. So until we actually get to a system where we become a much more tax proficient country where you actually keep more of your income if you do go out to work, and therefore you are better off than if you are sitting at home doing nothing, and that is the fundamental change. So the $5 billion that Rachel Reeves was messing around with is a cup of tea compared to the bigger scheme of things.
All right, well, listen, this show's nothing without you and your views. Let's welcome our great British voice there, opportunity to be on the show. Tell us what they think about the topics we're discussing. What do you think, Lee? Is it time they sort of got on with it and started to cut some of the welfare because it's costing us all a fortune?
Well, for the first time ever, I think, in ever history, we now actually pay out more in benefits than we do take in with income tax. And that is absolutely just balmy. But we're wasting a lot of these benefits as well. 1.5 million foreign nationals are claiming benefits at the moment in this country. Why the hell are foreign nationals claiming benefits in this country? They may well be paying tax, but we wouldn't be allowed to do it in any other foreign country. We've also got things like ADHD. People are claiming for ADHD. They're getting top-range cars for them as well. They're getting help for that. You know, ADHD, I've had 2 types of cancer. I couldn't work for 6 months, so I'm experienced at the benefits bit because I claimed benefits for 6 months while I was sick and couldn't work. But that was for literally not being able to work. I couldn't work. But when we've got ADHD and anxiety and that's being paid for in disability benefits, that's real
Well, it's a bit annoying for those of us who probably... I think I've probably got it. I think everyone's got it now. But obviously, I can still work, so I'm all right with it. I don't have ADHD. I'm not going to subscribe to that narrative. I don't have anything wrong with me. I'm very grateful for that. Lee, I'm going to have to leave it there. Really good to talk to you. That is Lee Webber. He's from Bedfordshire. He's our great British voice. Thank you. Right, stay with us. Let's check out the weather in Europe.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello, plenty of settled weather over the coming days for much of Europe as generally high pressure builds. Sunny spells across the Canaries through the rest of the weekend into Monday. On the sunny side and dry across much of Spain and Portugal. Showers, though, some of these heavy across France, northern Italy, but drier further south and across into Greece and Turkey as well. Temperatures rising 25, 26 Celsius. Plenty of sunshine to come over the coming days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Unbelievable thing you've done. How are you?
I'm absolutely exhausted.
I bet you are.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you got in here today, frankly. But you know what I really love, and this is the thing that inspires everybody, because everybody gets inspired when they see the marathon on TV. I was driving along on Sunday, and honestly, I counted 30 runners out on the streets, which you would never normally see. Now, you have never been a constant runner, someone that's always been out there on the street, because you went from nothing to do this, is that right?
I was not even a sports fan, so unlike you, big Spurs fan, I know, but I was unfit, not into sports at all. I turned 40 2 years ago. It's my birthday next week. And thank you. And I decided to do this charity challenge. So actually, it will be my 2-year running anniversary in May.
Wow. Right, now I don't even get how you suddenly go, you know what, I'm going to be this, let's run across India, let's do 100 marathons, because do you start with literally like the old counts to 5K and then we move on and then move on and move on?
Yeah, definitely started with 5K runs, and obviously that massively grew. Totally. But yeah, the run across India was basically from the Pakistan border, and then I ran east and then kind of down to the centre and then to the east to the Bengal border, which was 100 marathon distance in 100 days. And it was along something called the Old Inland Customs Line.
Was this... I was talking to Simon Calder just now, because we had Simon Calder in here, wasn't he, talking about holidays?
Travel correspondent.
And I was saying, I'm going off slightly on one, but he was saying, well, you know, because I'm going to fly to India before I go on a holiday somewhere else, and then he said, well, you need to get a visa. Is it easy just to go to India and just say, I'm going to run across your country now?
It's not. My father was actually born in India and born in Calcutta, which is why
is this the reason you chose India?
It's one of the reasons I chose India.
Right. GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. Now, a big story here. A former BBC News boss has claimed she was driven out of the top job by trans activists. Fran Ashworth was the director of BBC News from 2018 to 2022 and has given an interview to Rob Burley, claiming that she had been bullied out of the role by gender ideologues employed by the corporation. Well, joining me now is Rob Burley, former BBC producer himself. Rob Burley, wow, what a story. I mean, I left the BBC, frankly, because I couldn't say what I thought, and I know exactly what she's saying. But tell us about that interview, because you got the interview.
I did, yeah. So I set out to essentially it was because of the Supreme Court ruling about they reaffirmed that what we all know about sex, which is that there are men and women. That after that, I wanted to sort of look again at what was happening inside the BBC about that, because I'd noticed a lot of problems, but never systematically sort of approached it, which is what I was able to do. And as part of that, I interviewed Fran. And it was pretty striking what she had to say, and it's the first time she said anything since she left. And essentially, she talked about what she called progressive madness, which was partly trans, and trans was the most prominent of the aspects of that, but also other things as well. And that whole totality of kind of pressure was one of the reasons that she kind of realised that a job she'd always loved, 40 years in the BBC, something she loved, she was ready to leave because it was just impossible to manage it, really.
And what kind of pressure was she getting? So an example of the sort of things that she would be forced to either avoid saying or avoid focusing on.
I think what would happen would be that she would she would want to well, to be honest, it's a failure by management like Fran, if we're honest. I think she identified there was a problem, and then she sought to kind of resolve it without really consistently saying in absolutely clear terms, this cannot continue. I think she was very much a sort of behind the scenes person, so she would try and cajole people into sort of taking a more sensible approach. And when that failed, over time that became exhausting. And the bullying is really a kind of culture there that has grown up around this issue, where particularly among younger members of staff, there is a sort of there is a kind of view on this issue that it's not a debate. There's no debate to be had. There's no discussion to be had. If you dare question any aspect of it, you are automatically labelled transphobic, and you're hateful, and you're all these extreme words, and that has power. People don't like to be called those things. They don't like to be accused of that sort of thing. And if you remember, we've seen. I mean, your channel will have covered this extensively. In all sorts of walks of life, it wasn't just the BBC. We've seen people be cancelled, people have their work removed from sale, or whatever it might be, their livelihood taken away, because they didn't toe the line on this particular issue. So Fran, I think, was that I think is what she's talking about. But even at a very senior level of the BBC, she wasn't really able to deal with it effectively.
Yeah. All right, well, listen, I do have to leave it there. Sadly, I could talk to you about this for a very long time, Rob Burley, but a great interview that you got with her. Thank you so much for that. That is a journalist and former BBC producer, Rob Burley himself. He wrote the piece in Unheard. Well, a BBC spokesperson said that BBC News has taken a number of actions relating to our reporting of sex and gender, including updating the News Star guidance, sharing new guidance, making our social affairs editor responsible for this coverage, and where they have concerns about particular stories, we've addressed them. We continually review our coverage to reflect developments such as the Supreme Court ruling. Well, stay with me, loads more still to come. First, let's get an update with the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good afternoon and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, we have showers and longer spells of rain as we head into the new week. Initially cool, but it does look like there's signs of things warming up. So out there at the moment, we have got the low pressure situated to the north, bringing this slow-moving weather front, and then westerly winds drawing in further showers as we go through this evening and overnight. That band of rain will continue to clear its way northwards across Orkney and Shetland. Otherwise, for most of us, it's a showery picture. More longer spells of rain initially across Northern Ireland into northwestern England, then running down into Wales and the southwest. Some of this rain could be heavy at times. Clearest and driest conditions to the east, and across Scotland and Northern Ireland, if we see any clear skies, that's where temperatures could fall. A touch of frost possible, but also a few mist and fog patches. So to start Monday morning, it's a much brighter start out there across northern parts of Scotland with plenty of sunshine. To the south of that, though, showery outbreaks of rain. Across Northern Ireland, some brightness further towards the south and west, but a few showers here. Otherwise, across much of England and Wales, especially western areas, that's where we have showery outbreaks of rain, a bright but fresh start in the east. As we head through the morning, this band of rain will continue to push its way eastwards. It breaks up, and then we'll start to see more showers developing as we head through the afternoon, even into parts of Scotland, turning drier across Northern Ireland, but hazy sunshine ahead of the next frontal system. Temperatures ranging from up to 14 to possibly 16 or 17 in the south and east. So we'll see showers continuing as we go through Monday evening. They'll start pushing their way north and eastwards and then replaced by wet and windy conditions as we go overnight and into Tuesday. So outbreaks of rain for some of us, followed by showers, similar theme onto Wednesday, but otherwise temperatures will be rising.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're counting down to a spectacular summer. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in totally tax-free cash. A lump sum that you could have in time to splash out with this summer. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It is 5 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. And for the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it is yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next hour, GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and businessman and commentator Jeff Banks. Right, so in my nickel this afternoon.
Way! Well, yeah, nice to meet you all, yeah! Woo! Yeah! Well, I mean, the far right aren't supposed to like black people, but these people seem amazing.
So was London really taken over by the far right yesterday? I mean, how ridiculous. I went there and had a look for myself, and if you missed my niggle, I talked about Keir Starmer, but also Wes Streeting and Andy Burnham. You can check it out. Head over to GB News, our YouTube channel, and you can catch it there. Now, Wes Streeting ups the ante and calls Brexit a catastrophic mistake as he positions himself for a potential leadership contest and looks to distance himself from Andy Burnham. I'll be bringing you all the developments on that. And then in the interview, joining me, Timothy Cho, who escaped North Korea and is now rebuilding his life in the UK. He has an extraordinary story that you will not want to miss. And also later in the Great British Debate, with Wes Streeting and Andy Burnham seeking to scrap Brexit and rejoin the EU if they became Prime Minister, I'll be asking, are we actually better off sticking with Sir Keir Starmer? My poll is live on gbnews.com. Please answer that poll question. I look forward to seeing what you make of it. But before we get started, your latest news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you, Nana. Very good evening to you. A minute past 5 here in the GB newsroom. The Culture Secretary says it will be a personal decision for the Prime Minister over whether he takes part in a possible leadership contest. Lisa Nandy criticised speculation about a battle for the top job as froth and nonsense, but voiced support for Andy Burnham to be back in Parliament at the heart of power, saying his focus is on issues like the cost of living and transport are exactly where Labour needs to be. However, she criticised Wes Streeting for restarting Brexit wars by calling to rejoin the European Union yesterday in his pitch to oust Sir Keir Starmer. Lisa Nandy says she's standing by the Prime Minister.
I've served in Keir's shadow cabinet and then cabinet for 6-7 years now, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe that he could do this job and could do it well and could deliver on that promise.
Into the next general election?
Well, look, it's not for me to say how long the Prime Minister serves. That's up to him.
Meanwhile, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has criticised Angela Rayner over reports the former Deputy Prime Minister would put herself forward in any leadership contest.
I just think that if people think that there are rules for politicians or Labour politicians that are different from the rules for everybody else, they will get angry. Everyone should be playing by the same rules. Angela Rayner should not even be sniffing around a leadership contest right now. She is a disgraced former Deputy Prime Minister, a housing secretary who couldn't pay her housing taxes, and if I were her, I'd be sitting quietly rather than trying to pretend that everything's fine.
Police officers protecting the royal family at Windsor Castle are under investigation over allegations they slept while on duty. The Met's Professional Standards Department will assess whether any of them should be placed on restricted duties, with a decision expected by the end of next week. In June last year, an intruder managed to scale a wall and get into a restricted area before he was arrested. It's understood the royal family are aware about the investigation. The Met Police say 43 arrests were made during 2 rival protests in London yesterday, including 11 hate crime-related offences. 20 people detained were linked to the Unite the Kingdom protests. 12 were associated with a pro-Palestine Nakba Day march. A record 4,000 officers were deployed to deal with the gatherings at an estimated cost of £4.5 million. The Met says around 60,000 people attended yesterday's Unite demonstration, almost half of the estimated attendance from last year. The World Health Organization has declared an emergency over an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo and neighbouring Uganda. All but 2 of more than 300 suspected cases were recorded in the DRC, but the WHO says significant uncertainties about the true number of infected people remain. The virus is, of course, highly contagious. It is spread through bodily fluids and can also be caught from infected animals. There are no approved drugs or vaccines for the current strain of the deadly virus. It's thought to have a fatality rate of 50%. Authorities in Russia say at least 4 people have been killed in a large-scale strike by Ukraine in a number of regions, including Moscow. Russia's defence ministry says it shot down more than 1,000 drones over the past 24 hours. It's the biggest attack on the country by Ukraine in more than a year. President Zelensky had vowed a response to a 3-day attack by Moscow last week that killed more than 20 people and injured 50 others. Police Scotland say 2 officers were seriously injured by violence in Glasgow city centre after Celtic's Premiership win against Hearts. Fans took to the streets to celebrate the dramatic final day decider, which Celtic won to make it 5 titles in a row. The Force said they were met with unacceptable violence and hostility when they went into the crowd to deal with a medical emergency, with bottles and other missiles thrown. 14 arrests were made. Finally, the government looking into a potential bid for the north of England to host the Olympic and Paralympic Games in the 2040s. It is part of an ambition to drive regeneration in towns and cities through sport. If successful, it would be the first Games staged in Britain since London 2012. You're up to date. Now it's back to Nana.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good afternoon. It is fast approaching 7 minutes after 5 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Still to come, the World Health Organization has declared a public health emergency following an outbreak of Ebola in the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. How worried should we be? I'll be joined by a public health expert. In my interview, I'll be bringing you the inspirational story of Timothy Cho, who escaped North Korea and has now dedicated his life to helping others by campaigning for human rights. You won't want to miss that. And in the Great British Debate, are we better off with Keir Starmer? Never thought I'd ever say that. The two main candidates to the Labour leadership want to reverse the 2016 Brexit referendum and rejoin the EU. So is Sir Keir Starmer actually the best out of a bad bunch? What do you think? All of that is on the way. Send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/your say. Right, to our top story now. Wes Streeting has fired the starting gun on a potential Labour leadership contest, confirming that he will stand to replace Sir Keir Starmer.
We need a proper contest with the best candidates on the field, and I'll be standing.
The former Health Secretary has put Europe back on the centre of Labour's agenda, calling Brexit a catastrophic mistake.
The biggest economic opportunity we have is on our doorstep. We need a new special relationship with the EU because Britain's future lies with Europe and one day, back in the European Union.
Not alone, allies of Andy Burnham say that he also wants Britain to rejoin the EU, reopening Labour's Brexit divide at the battle for the future of the party as it intensifies. Well, joining me now is commentator Lee Harris. Political commentator Lee, welcome to the programme. Really good to see you. So, you were at the Unite the Kingdom rally. I'll ask you about that at the end because it was very good. But, Lee, your thoughts on all of this? I mean, really?
Well, first of all, I found it quite striking that the first thing Wes Streeting said that he wanted to go straight back into the EU, and this immediately says two things to me. Number one, I think there is an existential crisis within the Labour Party, and it's a very deep crisis. I would say it's ideological. They're out of ideas, especially on the economy. And one of the ways that they think they can probably get around this is by taking us back into the EU, and that does two things. It completely changes the national debate and it takes it away from the failings of the Labour Party. Because, I mean, I think we all remember what it was like during the Brexit years. Pretty much every single bit of television you watched was based around Brexit. The bandwidth was completely used up on that. So there's one reason. But the other reason is because they are genuinely out of ideas. Every single economic policy that Rachel Reeves has come up with has had a damaging effect on the economy. And my guess is they probably don't even understand why. Because they are, I don't think they understand the Laffer curve. They're high tax, high spend, and of course everyone can predict those results, and we've seen the results since she's implemented those policies. We've got, they're hammering businesses with higher national insurance, and of course the tax take is going down now. So it's a diversion tactic. And it's trying to rescue a really bad situation so they can kind of claim or essentially not take responsibilities for their own policies. But just very quickly, what you were saying about the question about whether Keir Starmer, we might be better off with Keir Starmer. The reason I think that is wrong is because at least with Wes Streeting, he's just been honest, right? He's just said the quiet bit out loud. We know that the Labour Party hate democracy. We know that they have absolutely no respect for the electorate. We saw that with Keir Starmer when 3 seconds after the debate he wanted us back in the European Union and he started campaigning. But at least Wes is being honest about it. One of the worst characteristics of Keir Starmer is he is a liar, in my view. I know he would completely disagree with that, but he keeps the important information from the public.
Well, what did he lie about, Lee? What did Keir Starmer lie about then, in your view?
Keir Starmer has lied pretty much since he's got into office about multiple things. He lied about all of his principles to get elected in the first place. He basically lied about the reasoning behind he's made decisions. We've seen that he's misled Parliament recently as well with the Peter Mandelson affair. And for some reason, he's able to get away with that, unlike other leaders like Boris Johnson, who are immediately held to account. He lied about the fact that within that committee briefing that they said there was no pressure put on the team to rush Peter Mandelson through, which was bizarre because everybody has seen the receipts of Ollie Robbins saying that exactly that there was immense pressure.
Well, he would deny that he'd lied about anything, as you well know, and he would say that actually, perhaps it was done this way, and it was his team, and he probably didn't have much control over what went on, and he actually blamed other people, didn't he? So he would deny that he's lied about anything. What about the fact that? OK, they have. You said it's great that Wes Streeting has said what he said, and he said the quiet bit out loud. But how wise was that? In particular, that he's tied Andy Burnham to him. Andy Burnham, who's now trying to win a by-election in a seat that voted 2/3 to leave.
I know, it just shows the desperation and the sheer lack of political knowledge. I mean, these people seem to have the political nous of a house brick, Nana. I mean, you look at, like you said, you look at the area, Makersfield, and it was a heavily pro-Leave area. And let's look at obviously the local election results around that area as well. I mean, Reform pretty much cleared up. I mean, maybe Wes Streeting is trying to almost trip Andy Burnham up by putting out a very strong pro-EU message before the by-election, maybe because he wants him to lose it. And I would argue possibly that Keir Starmer may well have allowed Andy Burnham to run it for the same reason, because that seat is definitely not in the bag for Labour. I mean, I'm sure someone's going to clip this and play it back to me, but I don't think he's going to win that seat, Nana.
I don't know. He's the king of the north. He was in his jogging bottoms, ill-fitting shorts,
how convenient,
and some very unflattering trainers that didn't match at all. He needs to go and take a look and have a chat with his stylist. Very briefly, I'm going to talk about the rally with the next guest, but your take on the Unite the Kingdom rally. You've got about 30 seconds.
It was fantastic. I've been to all of them now. I went to the first one quite open-minded, and I had the exact same experience I had from the first rally. It was very welcoming, people from all colours, all faiths. I watched your excellent interviews that you did, Nana, and you had exactly the same experience I had. They're smearing this rally because they know that they've lost the argument, and they are desperate, absolutely desperate, to make this rally sound and look like it's something that it isn't. But as I said, I had the same experience that I've had on all of them. I spoke to a lot of people.
Roughly, Lee, how many people would you say were there? Because Scotland Yard have estimated 60,000, roughly. What would you say?
Oh, it was way more than that. There was hundreds of thousands of people there. Honestly, I was backstage, so I couldn't see a lot of it. So, but I had a look at some of the images again this morning. It looked very similar to the last one.
Yeah.
They did the same with the last one, Nana. They're playing the numbers down because they don't like the message.
Well, Scotland Yard say there were 60,000. Lee Harris, thank you very much. Right, well, yes, as I said, 60,000 estimated to attend the Unite the Kingdom rally yesterday in Parliament Square, which called for clampdowns on migration and political change. Barriers were put up to separate it from the pro-Palestine Nakba Day rally, which finished in Waterloo Place. The Met said that there were 43 arrests across both of the events, adding that they proceeded largely without significant incident. A record 4,000 officers were deployed to deal with the gatherings at an estimated cost of £4.5 million. Well, joining me now is former Metropolitan Police Officer Chris Hobbs. Chris, some people might argue that Keir Starmer painted this rally in a very negative manner, and actually, in doing so, in a sense, it was almost like an incitement. That's what some people might suggest.
Yes, he did, didn't he? I think there were reasons to be concerned about it. The fact you've got two events, big events, going on the same day, obviously caused concern for the police, and they would rather not have spent £4.6 million policing it. On the day itself, I was there. I went to both protests. I spent 2 hours watching the pro-Palestinian, anti-racist march go past. I saw the Patriots gather at King's Cross and Euston, Unite the Kingdom, and I went again down to Trafalgar Square. after the pro-Palestinian march. And all in all, I think the police generally, from the ones I spoke to, were extremely pleased with the way it went, that both sides, frankly, behaved pretty well. There were no clashes. The policing kept both sides apart, because the last thing police wanted was to see hundreds of people running about looking to have a go at the other side. That didn't happen. There was certainly, the only incident of note was a small group of pro-Israelis who turned up on the pro-Palestine march on the route, about a dozen of them. That could have provoked something, but in fairness to the stewards, the pro-Palestine stewards, they kept quite a tight leash, as did the police, and basically there were no incidents. There were no attempts by the pro-Palestine side to get at the pro-Israelis. So all in all, I think... Yeah,
that's good. I mean, because the pro-Israelis, they should be allowed to also protest. They can do that too, so, you know.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I don't think it was the wisest thing to do, because theoretically the police had policed for two separate events. So they suddenly turned up. They could have been dispersed by the police, Section 14, but obviously the police would have got a lot of stick if they'd have done that. But what the police did, they kept them sealed off. And as I say, the pro-Palestine stewards did a very good job in keeping the march moving past this little group. So all in all, I think both sides, I'd have to say, there's the odd blip, a few arrests, relatively speaking, but both sides conducted themselves pretty well over the course of the day.
All right, thank you very much for that oversight, Chris Hobbs. Your view of it. He's a former Metropolitan Police officer. Thank you, Chris. Lovely to talk to you. Now, this is a bit of a scary story. The World Health Organization has declared a public health emergency over an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo and in Uganda, which has led to 88 deaths so far. Now, the virus is highly contagious and spreads through bodily fluids and can also be caught from infected animals. There are no approved drugs or vaccines for this current strain of the deadly virus, which is thought to have a fatality rate of 50%. Well, I'm joined now by pharmacist Thorin Govind. Thorin, really good to talk to you now. You see, this is, I think, very scary. I thought the hantavirus was pretty scary. The fact that hantavirus can survive and live in semen for up to 7 years. And, you know, also they're worried about it if it goes down the sewage system in the UK because we haven't got the filters. However, this is far more worrying because they've only just worked out that there's a serious outbreak and they can't find where it sort of began.
OK, well, just to explain what Ebola is, it's a group of viruses, a family of viruses, and it lives naturally in fruit bats. And then when humans eat bushmeat, so things like monkeys or chimpanzees, that's how it then spreads to humans. So I understand how people will be seeing this and being concerned. But what I would say, it's not an airborne virus. So we're not talking about a COVID-19 or flu-like situation here.
That's great, but it has a 50% mortality rate. So even though those were airborne, their mortality rate was quite low in comparison. And also, well, we had, I'm going to put in speech marks, a vaccine, as it were, for it. This one, there's really nothing.
No, this specific strain, so we know that this strain is called the Bundibugyo strain, and it was first identified in 2007. This specific strain, they are just having to manage with preventative and supportive care. So we know there is no vaccine for this. I think this is not just about vaccines, though. The concern here is about, this is an area with a high population who are moving quite, all over the place. It's an urban area, so just exactly like you said there, how it spreads, so it spreads in bodily fluids. This is why it's a big concern in this area, because we know how much it can spread quickly in these areas, and exactly how you said that, it is contagious.
Yeah, and it sits on surfaces and can stay there for up to 6 weeks. And, it shows very quickly, though, in most cases, so within 2 days to about 2 weeks. So it's not like the hantavirus that can hang around and linger for, something like 2 months or something.
Well, I would just say, even after people recover from this virus, it can hide in the body. So it can be transmitted to other people. And we've seen cases of that of months to years. So that 2 to 21 day incubation period, people are only contagious when they have the symptoms. And if I just remind people of those symptoms, it's a fever, weakness, a sore throat early on, but that can then lead to vomiting and diarrhea. Eventually, we can also have internal and external bleeding. This is not a nice virus to be dealing with.
And what is the treatment for it? Do we have some sort of anything, or is it just simply care and trying to keep you well?
At this stage, for this specific strain, and obviously with vaccines, we're always trying to target that specific strain. We don't have anything specific for this strain. I also think we need to be, there's also a cultural consideration here that we haven't touched on yet, Nana. So some of the burial practices there, their body may be in the home for a few days. This is the cultural and traditional way sometimes, and that can actually assist with the virus spreading more. So it's definitely a concern that the World Health Organization and locals in those areas are going to have to tackle quickly.
I think so. I think there's one practice, I don't know whether it's there, but where they swim with the body, so they put the body in everyone's, and it's very frightening. And also a lack of trust of the West. So let's hope maybe they can find a vaccine. I don't know how long that will take, but I hope they do find a vaccine for this one, this strain, or perhaps the previous vaccine might offer some protection. But Thoran Govind, thank you very much. She's a pharmacist. Thank you so much for that. Well, wow, 21 minutes after 5 o'clock. You're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Next, in my interview, I'll be speaking with North Korean defector Timothy Cho, who will be sharing his extraordinary story. You won't want to miss it.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. 25 minutes after 5 o'clock, and if you've just tuned in, where have you been? You know, we start at 3, but actually you've tuned in at a very good time because it is time for this week's interview, and my guest has an extraordinary story which you will not want to miss. Now, after escaping North Korea twice and surviving years of hardship, he's now campaigning for human rights and speaking out on global freedom issues here in Britain. And tonight he shares his journey, the political response to North Korea, and why he believes that the West must not stay silent. Well, I'm very pleased to say that I'm joined in the studio by Secretariat UK, all-party parliamentary group and human rights activist Timothy Cho. Timothy, welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So, Timothy, talk to me. Tell us your story, because a lot of people don't understand. They won't get it. I don't get it. I want to hear all about it from you.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. Well, even at the reception, I was asked how did I escape from North Korea. And yes, I've been in the UK for 18 years now, but I escaped when I was 17, twice escaped. And I was imprisoned 4 times, 3 times in China, 1 time in North Korea. And especially experiencing that North Korean imprisonment. And this will continue in my eyes, how men and women being tortured and killed, and which I also treated terribly, and which I live with those scars inside and outside today. And I remember visiting Auschwitz last year, and I was sitting on my bed 3 days and remembering and what I saw there, exactly what I saw in North Korean prison cell.
So why were you escaping, first of all? What was it that was making you escape? Why did you need to go? Why was it so bad?
My parents first escaped, whom both of them were high school teachers in North Korea. So they escaped when I was turning age into 9 and 10.
They left you there?
Well, they just they didn't have other alternative choice. If they didn't make that choice, I think whole family could have taken into a prison camp.
Now, why were they being pursued?
And my dad was a history teacher in high school, and this was due to political persecution, which he faced the urgent situation. They had to leave urgently. I mean, I came home from school, and which was the place I had breakfast with them.
Yeah.
And I still remember the atmosphere. My mom, that morning was a bit strange. My mother came all the way, outside the house and waving at me, and which I didn't realize that was going to be one of the last times I would have seen her in my life. Oh. And so after they escaped, I was given son of traitor, which I was in the category of enemy class.
So you're now the son of a traitor, right?
And which I couldn't go to school. Age 17, I tried to join the army, which is compulsory. Every man has to join the army in North Korea. Some of them are in Ukraine, supporting Putin's illegal war against the people of Ukraine. But this was also denied because my father betrayed the country. So it was a feeling that brainwashed, which I worshipped the Kim family for 17 years, which I even said I will pay back my father's crime, which I didn't even know was my father's crime. But that was giving me the moment, this country has no future, hope. But I didn't even know what outside it looked like. That's how I escaped across the border to China.
So you got to China? But then they caught you, didn't they?
They did. So we were 18 of us arrested at the Mongolian border. Usually we try to go to South Korea, become Korean citizens automatically under Korean constitution. But then you have to cross several borders until you try to get there. But where we were arrested, all 18 of us at the border, and then we were sent to prison, a military prison to another prison, eventually sent back to North Korea, which I was the only one actually got out among my group. And when I was sent to my grandmother's house, I still didn't understand why they did, but which I now realize maybe there was a reason why I survived and living life with a purpose today. And second time I escaped again, which my grandmother helped me to cross the border, holding the plastic container on the Tumon River, which one lady dragged me all the way from the beginning. But again, I was arrested at the American International School in Shanghai, and now we were sent to a Shanghai International Prison, which from their first time I ever pray to God for my survival. When a gangster told me, if God might be there, why don't you pray? So in the darkest prison cell, in the corner I was sitting, prayed many times a day. I asked God, if you give me my freedom, if you are there, and I give my life to you, but if I were sent back to North Korea and executed or killed, I said to God, you not exist in this world. Miracle happened, and I've seen a number of miracles in my life until today. And Chinese government made very unusual decision to deport me and my group to the Philippines with a diplomatic passport. But that was initiated by a 13-year-old girl from the Shanghai International School. She wrote an email to a journalist, someone like you, and she collected a statement and urged the BBC, Washington Post, CNN, international media, overcoming pressure on the Chinese government, don't send them back to North Korea. So we were the first ever case officially deported by Chinese government to the Philippines, and from there we were given a choice to choose a country which we didn't know very much, but I'm glad I chose eventually to come to Britain. This country has given me second chance, and something that I couldn't have in North Korea. I was able to have education in this country, went to university, studied politics. Now I have 2 children, family, where I'm based in Manchester. And also because of this platform we have, I can speak out. And if we lose this platform of freedom and democracy, we can't fight against North Korea and China and Russia, where our freedom, more than any moment, is being significantly threatened right now.
Yeah. And you know more than most about what it's like to not have that freedom of speech.
Yeah. Absolute freedom of speech, expression, and freedom of religion. And I was so excited when I was studying politics here because of reading our Constitution, the Magna Carta. The first sentence was saying freedom of religion. Within that context, speech, expression, opportunity you have. So that I was never imagined to go to university in North Korea. But here, I was able to get GCSE, A-level, and universities studied in politics. And that's why when I stood for local elections in the UK, one of the most advocacy I raised was, you have a choice here. You have a choice here. And I am upset. I'm upsetting sometimes when young people or people not bothered even to go to polling stations because it's raining, because the weather is getting dark. And outside of this country, many millions of people who don't have these basic rights. But here, UK, we still have, but we have to continue to defend and stand for this freedom to protect.
All right, well, listen, Timothy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fascinating. Timothy Cho. He is a secretariat for the UK All-Party Parliamentary Group and human rights activist. Thank you. Really good to talk to you. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Wow. All right, coming up 34 minutes after 5 o'clock. You're with me, I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. Still to come, the Great British Debate. I'm asking, are we better off with Keir Starmer? You'll hear the thoughts of my panel, GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and businessman and commentator Jeff Banks. But first, your latest news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Nana. Our top stories: a row is broken out at the top of the Labour Party over rejoining the EU after Wes Streeting said Britain's future lies with Europe. Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy's described his comments as odd. Met Police says an urgent investigation is underway into allegations a number of Royal Protection officers left their posts unattended and slept while on duty at Windsor Castle. Police Scotland says 2 officers were seriously injured during violence in Glasgow city centre yesterday after Celtic's Premiership win against Hearts. The force said they were met with unacceptable violence and hostility when they went into the crowd to assist with a medical emergency. 14 arrests have been made. An outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been declared an international emergency. 86 people have died there, with a further 2 deaths in neighbouring Uganda. And the government's looking into a potential bid for the north of England to host the Olympic and Paralympic Games in the 2040s. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 6.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
afternoon and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, we have showers and longer spells of rain as we head into the new week. Initially cool, but it does look like there's signs of things warming up. So out there at the moment, we have got the low pressure situated to the north, bringing this slow-moving weather front, and then westerly winds drawing in further showers as we go through this evening and overnight. That band of rain will continue to clear its way northwards across Orkney and Shetland. Otherwise, for most of us, it's a showery picture. More longer spells of rain initially across Northern Ireland into northwestern England, then running down into Wales and the southwest. Some of this rain could be heavy at times. Clearest and driest conditions to the east, and across Scotland and Northern Ireland, if we see any clear skies, that's where temperatures could fall. A touch of frost possible, but also a few mist and fog patches. So to start Monday morning, it's a much brighter start out there across northern parts of Scotland with plenty of sunshine. To the south of that, though, showery outbreaks of rain. Across Northern Ireland, some brightness further towards the south and west, but a few showers here. Otherwise, across much of England and Wales, especially western areas, that's where we have showery outbreaks of rain, a bright but fresh start in the east. As we head through the morning, this band of rain will continue to push its way eastwards. It breaks up and then we'll start to see more showers developing as we head through the afternoon, even into parts of Scotland, turning drier across Northern Ireland, but hazy sunshine ahead of the next frontal system. Temperatures ranging from up to 14 to possibly 16 or 17 in the south and east. So we'll see showers continuing as we go through Monday evening. They'll start pushing their way north and eastwards and then replaced by wet and windy conditions as we go overnight and into Tuesday. So outbreaks of rain for some of us, followed by showers, similar theme onto Wednesday, but otherwise temperatures will be rising.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon and welcome to GB News. If you just tuned in, why now? It's the end of the programme. Well, 21 minutes to go. I'm Nana Akua. We are live on TV, online and on digital radio. The show starts at 3. Right now, though, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour, and I'm asking, are we better off with Keir Starmer? I never thought I'd ever say that. I mean, the race to replace him is already reopening Britain's Brexit wounds. Wes Streeting says that leaving the EU was a catastrophic mistake and that Britain should one day rejoin. Andy Burnham has also said there is a long-term case for Britain returning to the bloc. I mean, really, so tone deaf. So with Labour's possible successors already setting out a very different direction, I'm asking, are we better off with Sir Keir Starmer? Joining me now is GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and businessman and commentator Jeff Banks. Jeff Banks, I will start with you.
It's like asking me, do I want to cut off my left hand or my right foot? It's just like all equally painful. I mean, am I better off with Keir Starmer? Definitely not. The man is like a useless leader. He's actually, in my opinion, damaged this country inconceivably, and yet, because of the state that he's got us in, means that he's no longer able to control his cabinet and left the door open for other people to now challenge him. And who have we got of challengers? Great list, you know. Wes Streeting, who I think is a wet lettuce. Nice young lad, maybe. Done nothing, went to Cambridge, like, worked writing a few bits and pieces for the Labour Party, and now they think maybe he can run a country. And then we've got smart-ass Andy Burnham, who's like...
for that.
Yeah, you know, Giorgio Armani suits 1 minute and then man of the people the next. Did a good job with the buses in Manchester, but go to Manchester these days and see the people living on the street, the state of Manchester, and then he spent 100 million quid on a kind of like clean air zone thing, stuck all the posters up, and then realised it wasn't going to work, and has now put stickers over the top of them. So that's the next best. So what do I want?
And also, well, with Wes Streeting, I mean, he did apparently bring the numbers NHS waiting list down, but as we know, that was through updating the list.
Yeah, that's questionable.
Dying.
Yeah.
Because they waited
How
too
did
long.
that happen?
Or going private.
Yeah.
What about you, Nigel Nelson?
Well, first of all, it might well end up that way, that if Andy Burnham can't win at Makerfield and is out of the running, and if it was a head-to-head between Wes Streeting and Keir Starmer would win hands down. That Labour members would actually would make the decision. Now, according to Labour List, which is the Bible of the Labour membership, it would mean that Starmer would win by 53% to 23%. So he's got a huge lead over Wes Streeting.
So, in your view, who's better?
Well, I mean, there is no leadership race yet, so it'd be.
No, but there will be one. Come on.
Well, we don't actually know that. There isn't.
But then why are they throwing their hat in the ring? They're just wasting our time.
Well, we don't know because we don't know how everything ends up. I mean,
nobody knows how anything ends up, Nigel.
But until you actually answer the Andy Burnham question, and the only way of doing that is this by-election, we're not going to know either way.
Well,
so if there is a leadership race, I'll make up my mind when that happens.
OK, well, let's just pretend that Andy Burnham is in the race. He won his by-election seat. Then you have Keir Starmer, Wes Streeting and Andy Burnham. Then what?
Well, then I will make up my mind when the campaign
let's pretend that we've got to that bit.
Well, then I will still make up my mind when the campaign is actually running and decide who I think is the best person for the job.
What will be the decider for you? What's the single issue?
There wouldn't be a single issue. I mean, as I've already said, I'm not terribly keen on the idea of this...
trying to get blood out of the stone.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
Why are you even here?
I do appreciate I'm giving you a politician's answer at the moment.
You're doing Keir Starmer. You're doing a great job of that.
But I seriously wouldn't make up my mind until I've actually seen them all campaign. Bear in mind, I don't have a vote. I'm not a member of the Labour Party.
That's all right.
So I won't have a vote in this election. So it will be what I think is the best bet, which I'll obviously say here, but not at the moment, not until that campaign happens.
But don't you think, you know, you sound like Willie Carson doing the best actor.
I know.
I mean, you've got all these guys that were lucky to get in as politicians, most of them, in the majority that they suddenly got. They're earning, like, what now, 104,000 quid a year. Yeah. They're all clinging on to their seats like mad, because most of them, if Labour get bounced out, they're going to lose that income and probably couldn't get a job. So unemployment is going to go through the roof. You know, who are they going to vote for, these Labour backbenchers? Because where's the betting there?
Well, I mean, they don't decide. I mean, the backbenchers, you just need 81 of them to put somebody up for a leadership challenge. But I think that the point is everyone's got strengths and weaknesses, including the people in this game, and you really don't know what they are until that campaign starts.
I mean, I think we're in a really sorry state that when you actually look at what the choice is, A, for who we've actually got running the place at the moment, wouldn't get my vote, and then you think, who else is there lining up to take over? Pretty sorry state, don't you think, of actually the choice they've got?
Well, no, I do think, for instance, I think Wes Streeting is really good. And I think
could you say that again slowly?
And he will one day be Prime Minister, but he's only 43, so he's got plenty of time. I've known Andy Burnham for years, and he's always had ambitions to be Prime Minister. Again, I think that he could be very good. But I'm not writing off Keir Starmer yet because we haven't had a leadership contest.
Why do you think Wes Streeting is any good? Please, inform me.
Well, I mean, if you take the most recent thing, look very carefully at the letter he wrote to Keir Starmer. It was a very clever political letter. I think that Wes Streeting is actually a clever politician. I think he has done some good work with the health service. We can argue about whether those figures really have come down as much as he says they have since 2008. But I do think he's actually made the health service work, and I think he's got the various qualities it takes to be a Prime Minister, but not necessarily yet.
Forgive me, but he's a young lad, went to Cambridge, so he's smart at writing a letter, but has done nothing outside writing a few articles for Labour Party-like journals. So what makes him qualified, in your opinion, to run the country?
I think that politics is now a professional job. So,
well, what was it before? Sorry, I thought a professional job meant you got paid for what you do.
Well, it's not a question of actually what you do before. You don't need to be a doctor to become the Secretary of State for Defence, for instance. Is there any benefit in that? Indeed, if you were...
why would you be a doctor and a Secretary of State for Defence?
Well, because we have had them. Liam Fox was one. Liam Fox was a doctor, he became Secretary of State for Defence. We work on the basis that politicians make the policies and the experts carry them out.
All right, well, listen, so who are we better off with, Keir Starmer, Jeff Banks, yes or no?
I think I'll cut my right hand off, then my left foot.
OK. And no point asking you, because you're just going to sit on the fence.
I am.
Splinters up there, thank you very much. Right.
He wants the next interview, doesn't he?
We'll stay with us first, OK? If you fancy some holiday sun, here's the forecast for the top European destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, plenty of settled weather over the coming days for much of Europe as generally high pressure builds. Sunny spells across the Canaries through the rest of the weekend into Monday. On the sunny side and dry across much of Spain and Portugal. Showers, though, some of these heavy across France, northern Italy, but drier further south and across into Greece and Turkey as well. Temperatures rising 25, 26 Celsius. Plenty of sunshine to come over the coming days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
This is the place called Goodreads, who describe themselves as the world's largest site for readers and book recommendations, and they're objecting to the fact, anti-book language they're objecting to. Anti-book language. They don't like the phrase, throw the book at him. Oh, it says anti-book.
Anti-book?
Yeah, anti-book. And they don't like the phrase, don't judge a book by its cover. They prefer you to say, please do admire book covers which are meticulously designed works of art deserving of appreciation.
These people
catchy.
Stupid.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they're just borrowing from the people for the ethical treatment of animals, who every so often come up with the story of, like, don't use anti-animal language, like more than one way to skin a cat. This week, I think they had a story, they wanted a street to not be named Pork Pie Way in Melton Mowbray, they wanted it to be called Vegan Alternative Way or something. It's just a press release to get in the papers.
Is the home of pork pie.
Yeah. Exactly. Who would have Vegan Alternative Way as a street name? But it just gets them in the papers, isn't it? So now we're talking about books. The books aren't offended. Do you know what I mean? Literally, they've got a spine, where most of the people these days don't.
They have got a spine, that's quite true.
Yeah. That's positive book language.
Honestly. All right, let's go. What's your language story, Steve?
Le woke. French GCSE is now being changed so that you can use gender-neutral terms, which I think is hilarious. Given the languages, its nouns are split between masculine and feminine, and yet now you will be able to use these gender-neutral pronouns, which I can't even manage to pronounce the English ones, so there's no hope of me working out these French ones. But the French, of course, are saying, no, this is not a thing. So you can... No, that's how they do. You're very good. So what's the point in having a GCSE, a version of the language that the people who speak that language don't speak?
Yeah.
It's a bit of virtue signaling.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, Parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. Well, listen, stay with us because at 7 on GB News this evening, it is Free Speech Nation with Josh Howie, and he joins me now. Josh, what is coming up?
Well, we've got some real heavy hitters. It's official. In Australia, women no longer have single-sex rights. Sal Grover is going to be discussing how she lost the case, but will she win the war? Also, you may have seen her videos online, Based and Bougie. She was at the Unite the Kingdom rally yesterday. I was at the Nakba march, which, if any of them were hate marches, I have exclusive footage to show you from that. Also, Buck Angel, transsexual, gave an amazing speech at the Cambridge Union this week. And finally, Jonathan Conricus, he is the former IDF spokesperson. He is here to discuss a very disturbing and extensive report into the sexual violence on October 7th and why Jewish women have not been believed. On a lighter note, I just want to say that Jeff Banks, who you've got there, knew me when I was a baby, and I also didn't have hair.
Did he? Oh, when you had hair. Oh, no, maybe you didn't have hair then as well.
No hair.
Oh. Josh Howie, thank you very much. That is Free Speech Nation, 7 o'clock. Right now...